3, 2, 1. Natasha, Humera, Ejaz.
Hey,
How you doing,
I'm
Natasha?
good. How are you?
I'm all right, alhamdulillah. We've been meaning to do this for a while, this podcast, and it's finally happening. And I'm going to keep the mystique around it and be like कि आप कराची आई सिर्फ इस podcast के लिए.
वो तो सच है.
हाँ, ये
मिस्टेक थोड़ी है
ये तो सच है.
ये तो हक बात पे नहीं घबराना चाहिए.
नहीं मैं वैसे हर बात पे घबराता हूँ. Okay. But what's it called? So you have released an album recently, which is, I mean, it is loved. It's a fantastic album, alhamdulillah, and it's loved and everything. And we will talk about it all the way at the end.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
So that the listeners completely hate us.
So, there's absolutely no confusion that this is not a promotional campaign.
I mean, it can be. हम जो है promotional हम जो है ना ये भी हक बात है.
How we promote is up to us.
Yeah, ये हक बात है और हम इस पे भी जो है ना इस पे हम घबराते नहीं. Because पैसे कमाना is not a bad thing.
बिल्कुल.
Most artists don't understand that, right? But take me all the way to the beginning, maybe. Take us all the way to the beginning. How did you get into music? At what point did you realize that you're not only doing this because you enjoy it, you might also actually be good at it? Because you've been doing this for a while now, mashallah se. So tell me that.
It's very early on for me.
Yeah.
Super early on. I think it was around, when we were, I think you're 3 when you're in kindergarten or something like that. And I just, I think one of my teachers, we were doing nursery rhymes, and one of my teachers kind of took note that my nursery rhyme just sounded better than everybody else's.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, dude.
And she pointed it out. I don't even remember her name. I don't remember her face. I just remember some adult telling me at a very young age, okay, that's a nice voice, and me going home and going like, my teacher said I have a nice voice today. And from then on, I think like my mother was an artist, and she was huge music fan. घर पे बहुत music चलता था. भाई बहन मेरे मुझसे बड़े हैं तो वो भी music सुनते थे. अम्मा करती थी ये कि मुझे हफ्ते में एक ना कोई गाना दे देती थी, ऐसी प्रोजेक्ट्स है कि तुम सीखो ये.
To sing it? Okay, all right.
घर पे. तो मैं 3-4 साल की थी. तो by the time I was 6, अम्मा मुझे वो ओ बसंती पवन पागल पुराने इंडियन सैड सॉन्ग सिखाती रहती थी. और बस उनका एक था कि उन्होंने देख लिया था कि मुझे शौक है. तो वो एज अ मदर शी वॉज वेरी इनकरेजिंग और कहती थी कि बस सीखो. तो हर हफ्ते एक नया गाना. और बस फिर मैं ड्रामा बच्ची थी, एंटरटेनमेंट का शौक था मुझे. तो अगर कोई नहीं होता था घर पे तो मैं शीशे के सामने खड़ी या तो एक्टिंग डांसिंग मानसिंग करती रहती थी, अपने गाने लिखती रहती थी. मेरी बहन मुझे बताती हैं कि मैं बहुत अर्ली ऑन कॉम्पोजिशन शुरू कर दी थी. मुझे खुद मेमोरी नहीं है इसकी. और अगर कोई अनफॉर्चुनेट सोल आ जाती हमारे घर तो उसको बिठा के फिर फुल शो लगता था. मुझे याद है मैं आई थिंक 3rd ग्रेड में थी, हमने एक स्कूल प्ले किया था जिसके अंदर मेरा 3 मिनट का रोल था. 3 मिनट का रोल था, लेकिन मुझे पूरा प्ले रटा हुआ था. हर कैरेक्टर की लाइन, हर एक्टर ने जो ब्लॉकिंग थी, सब कुछ याद था मुझे. तो जो भी मेहमान बेचारा घर आता था शाम की चाय के लिए, पूरा प्ले 1 man शो में करके दिखाती थी. तो
But I think that's so fantastic, because that's where the confidence comes from, at an early age. You can't. And your parent or your mom or your sister, did they not ever tell you to abhi nahi karo or whatever? Was it ever?
कहा होगा, मैं मतलब
हाँ, please.
Excuse me, I'm here to change the world.
Yes.
ठीक है,
I understand.
मैं like disrupt करने आई हूँ दुनिया को, तो आप बैठे और सुने.
Please.
नहीं, अगर कह भी देती थी तो मेरा क्या था, मैं जाके कमरे में अकेला नाचना शुरू हो जाती थी. मेरा तो कुछ नहीं था. मैं एंटरप्रेन्योरल थी बचपन से. मेरे तो हमारे घर पे मोतिया के फूल लगे होते थे. तो मैं थी 7 साल की, मैं मोतिया पिक करके बोतलों में डाल के पानी डाल के एज परफ्यूम सेल करना शुरू हो जाती थी.
At 7 years old?
हाँ, मैं बहुत, पता नहीं, मेरे बहुत आइडियाज़ चलते रहते थे और वो सारे साइमल्टेनियसली चलते थे. और अल्लाह ने मुझे, आज तक मैं कहती हूँ, मेरे जो पीयर्स हैं या जो दोस्त हैं या कॉलीग्स हैं जो मेरे साथ क्लोजली काम करते हैं, उनका बस यही सवाल होता है कि तुम्हारे अंदर इतनी एनर्जी कैसे है. तो अल्लाह मियाँ ने वो एक नेचुरल बॉर्न टैलेंट के साथ साथ एक पर्सनालिटी दी दैट जस्ट just shameless. Just like Mac. So this is how it started. And then obviously my mother was like, this kid needs to channel this somewhere. So my mother was a painter, and she was in with like the artist community and the entertainment community within Islamabad at the time. So I started going to PTV pretty early. I started doing voice acting for like the puppet shows, and then some like on-air appearances as a young singer. PTV के सिंगिंग क्वायर्स भी होते थे बच्चों वाले, उसमें भी काम किया है मैंने. फिर जैसे जैसे बढ़ता गया, लाइक एक बस एक वो था, एक बस बॉल था, वो चलता गया और आज तक चल रहा है. और आज मैं आई थिंक अंदर वही वाला बच्चा हूँ, बट एक मुझे सिर्फ शोधापन नहीं करना होता था कभी भी ज़िंदगी में. मुझे बहुत शौक था एंटरटेनमेंट का, लेकिन मुझे बहुत शौक था पढ़ाई का भी, और उसको समझने का, हर चीज़ को समझने का मुझे बहुत शदीद क्यूरियोसिटी थी. तो अम्मा ने इनिशियली मुझे 1-2 गिटार और सिंगिंग टीचर्स हायर करके दिए थे, लेकिन मैंने वो फायर कर दिए क्योंकि मेरे गिटार टीचर ने मुझे अनट्यून गिटार पे सिखाना शुरू कर दिया. मैंने कहा इसको तो कुछ नहीं आता, इसको वापस भेजेंगे.
And you made this executive decision yourself.
बिल्कुल.
At what
अम्मा,
age?
मैं वही 7-8 साल की थी.
You fired a person at 8 years old?
Yes.
All right.
I didn't do it myself. I went to mom and I was like, yo, he's teaching me on an untuned guitar. The guy doesn't know anything. And also the singing classes उधर PNCA में होती थी. उस वक्त PNCA इस्लामाबाद में बहुत छोटी सी एक इंस्टीट्यूशन घर में होती थी. तो वहाँ पे जो सिंगिंग क्लासेस होती थी वो ग्रुप क्लासेस होती थी, और बस मैं बहुत जल्दी उनसे आउटग्रो कर गई थी.
Okay.
और वो मैं सवाल भी पूछती थी, और उस वक्त मेरी जो एक्सपीरियंस थी, वो लोग सवालों के जवाब नहीं देना चाहते बच्चों को. ये बच्चा पूछ रहा है, उसको क्या पता, राइट? लेकिन मैं सिंस देन मैंने बहुत डिफरेंट चीज़ों में काम किया है, इंक्लूडिंग एजुकेशन.
Sure.
और सवाल से बेहतर कोई चीज़ ही नहीं होती. मेरे स्टूडेंट्स मुझसे रोज़ सवाल पूछते हैं, और मैं रोज़ कुछ नया सीखती हूँ उनके सवालों की वजह से, जो मैंने सोचा भी नहीं होता था पहले.
Students meaning you are right now visiting faculty at
the Kathmandu Jazz Conservatory, yes.
Yeah.
And that's not the only thing. Like, I've been teaching for 15 years now.
Okay.
And I started my teaching career at a school called Head Start in Islamabad, where I was the extracurriculars coordinator for them, for the A-level section. And slowly and steadily, I, over time, have built, I used to do private instruction of singing within Karachi and Islamabad. In COVID, I started online lessons for kids. And then I also worked at KGS, Karachi Grammar School. Yeah. So I was actually their first part-time hire. And I used to do regular work with I love working with kids. So I was working the junior section from 3rd to 5th grade. एंड उनका एक एनुअल शो होता है, उसकी कोरियोग्राफी मैं करती थी, लेकिन उनके आफ्टर स्कूल जो समर प्रोग्राम्स होते थे उसकी भी टीचिंग करती थी. इस सब के साथ साथ मैंने पैरेलल करियर रखा है अपना परफॉर्मेंस का, रिकॉर्डिंग का, प्रोडक्शन का. और अब I've been hired as a visiting faculty at a jazz conservatory in Kathmandu, जहाँ से मैं आती जाती रहती हूँ. और वहाँ पे मैं एक सर्टिफिकेट पढ़ा रही हूँ पॉप रॉक के नाम से, जहाँ पे मेरे स्टूडेंट्स 18 to 27 के दरमियान होते हैं, और वो एक प्रोफेशनल सर्टिफिकेट करने आ रहे हैं. तो उनकी बकिया क्लासेस जो होती हैं वो थ्योरी और ये सब की होती हैं, और फिर प्राइवेट इंस्ट्रक्शन सिंगिंग की वो मेरे साथ करते हैं. तो roughly that's like the education career. I have also do a lot of workshops, and I'm currently a project manager for Saffron Pakistan, which is Saffron is a British women and non-binary representation music platform that is working towards providing technical training to women and non-binary individuals. And they have a Pakistan chapter that's in collaboration with the British Council. So this year I am the manager for the Pakistan chapter, which means under my mentorship, there are about 10 individuals, I'm going to say. I'm not sure it's the right number, but essentially I'm doing some mentoring there, and also I'm working as a middleman for Saffron and the cohort this year. So उनके जो workshops वगैरह हो रही होती हैं उनको करना, but also ये जो मेरे इस साल के members हैं, cohort members जो beneficiaries हैं इस program के, उनके अगर कोई इंडिविजुअल सवाल है मार्केटिंग के लिहाज से या म्यूज़िक प्रोडक्शन के लिहाज से या सॉन्ग राइटिंग के लिहाज से, या कभी कभी बस आर्टिस्ट को इंकरेजमेंट चाहिए होती है ऑनेस्टली कि हाँ बहुत अच्छा साउंड कर रहा है, करती रहो। तो वो काम मैंने संभाला हुआ इस साल। और उसके अलावा मैंने बहुत सारी लोकल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के साथ जाके रिमोट एरियाज़ में काम किए हैं। मैं सखर गई हुई हूँ, वहाँ पे नए नए स्कूल्स बन रहे थे एक ज़माने में, तो उन बच्चों के साथ वर्कशॉप्स करनी। एक्चुअली मेरा पहला टीचिंग का जो इस तरह वर्कशॉप का जो एक्सपीरियंस था वो था जब आपको याद है इनिशियल इंसर्जेंसी तालिबान की हुई थी और बच्चियों के स्कूल्स बंद कर दिए थे नॉर्थ में,
जी
वज़ीरिस्तान वगैरह में। तो उस वक्त कोई 10-20 बच्चियाँ आई थी इस्लामाबाद फॉर अ रिट्रीट उधर की, तो उनके साथ मैंने काम किया था। उनमें से एक बच्ची मलाला भी थी बाय द वे। तो वहाँ से बेसिकली तब से लेके अब तक आई थिंक मैंने एज अ चाइल्ड परफॉर्मर जितने भी चैलेंजेस देखे कि मुझे ट्रेनिंग अवेलेबल नहीं थी, मुझे क्यों फायर करने पड़े अपने टीचर्स 7 साल की उम्र पे, क्योंकि नहीं है अवेलेबल, अच्छी टीचिंग अवेलेबल नहीं है। तो जैसे जैसे मैं बड़ी होती गई और पढ़ती गई और समझती गई, जैसे जैसे मुझे बस मेरा एक अर्ज था और एक कॉलिंग थी कि साथ साथ सिखाओ भी, और यही वक्त है सिखाने का, क्योंकि मेरा बड़ा टाइम ज़ाया हुआ है ना सीख के।
But so I'm wondering here, how did you at what point did you decide, okay, your mom was like, mom, she's good, gifted, whatever. At what point did you though figure out, yeah, this is something that I could do for the rest of my life?
बचपन।
Yeah, early age. Yeah.
कुछ मैं there's been nothing else. I've had this mindset since I can remember. It wasn't a decision. It was more like not even convincing the people around me, more like just being like, I know what you think, but I kind of don't care. I'm just going to do it.
And how did you get this education? क्योंकि यहाँ पे आपने, I'm assuming, A levels किया, and then what? Where does the education from music come from?
So I finished my A levels the year my father passed away.
I'm sorry.
And no, that's okay. Thank you so much. God bless his soul. And at the time I had just convinced him कि मैंने म्यूज़िक स्कूल जाना है, लेकिन फिर उनका इंतकाल हो गया। फिर हमारे obviously financial एक burden आता है, head of the family has passed away, kids are I was 19, 20 at the time, so there was a lot of pressure. So I actually, straight from A levels, I went to work. I first worked at an advertising agency.
Okay.
And then that's when I started. I didn't enjoy the advertising agency for capitalist reasons. And
for reasons of capitalism.
For reasons of capitalism. And then I found this job. Actually, then City FM 89 called, and they were looking for a marketing executive, and they thought I would be a good fit for the Islamabad Rawalpindi chapter. So that was my first job out of A levels without any bachelor's or anything like that. I was working there for about a year. And also I quit that job eventually because I felt like I got no time to practice music. I was also an RJ there, so I kept the RJ job and quit the marketing job and started teaching at Head Start, because that gave me the ability to get done at 3 p.m. and then I could go to music classes, which at the time had become a little better. I was a little older, so I was learning with Ustad Fateh Ali Khan and his children.
Oh, snap.
At the PNCA.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's big.
It was very edifying.
Yeah.
It was a good yeah. But it was also one of those classes where for the first time I think it was recognized that I have more questions than the regular student. So and they weren't they would answer. So around that time, sorry, I was going somewhere with this. You asked a question.
I said, how did you know? You were like, I knew from the beginning.
Yeah.
I was like, but how did the education come about?
Yeah, okay. So that was the first class I did. And then, I don't know, I outgrew now that I look back at it, I think I outgrew at the time in terms of, and also my own personal curiosities were so massive that there were questions people didn't have answers to over here. Like I had complicated questions about harmony and arrangement and things like that.
Technical stuff,
Technical
though?
questions,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And so when I felt like that had been reached, I applied for a grant to a local organization called Kuch Khas. I found a school in Malaysia that taught music, and I applied for a grant, and I got the grant, and that was how I paid for my first year of music school. I got there, and then I started working super diligent hard, and then by the time I was in my last 2 semesters, I was paying for the college myself because I was working, like I was studying and working at the same time. So I would do school, but then I would go do gigs. I would do every gig. I would do like the singing gigs at cafes and pubs, but I was also an engineer, so I would do the crew gigs at big festivals and things like that. So just earned and I this is actually quite a moment of pride for me. By the time I left Malaysia is where I went to college. I was both singing for their Philharmonic Orchestra, the national one.
Which is a big deal.
It's a big deal.
हमारा है नहीं, तो हमें पता नहीं है. But countries have them,
Yeah.
and it's a national level thing.
Yeah. And so my final concert, actually, this is a concert I was brought back to Malaysia from Pakistan, was with the Philharmonic, and I sang for the Tourism Malaysia campaign. That ad is like all over the world now, and I'm one of the voices that do Malaysia truly Asia.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, that's good. That's fantastic. Still good. I went to school in Malaysia also.
Nice.
Part of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Fantastic.
So like my thing was very much like मुझे मलेशिया ट्रूली एशिया भी इस वजह से मिला था. मैं बस जाके स्टूडियोज में ऑडिशन मैं बस बहुत एनर्जी मुझ में थी, तो मैं बस पहुंच जाती थी. आप मुझसे ऑडिशन लें, मुझे ऑडिशन करने में कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, मैं आज तक ऑडिशन करूँगी. लेकिन मैं चाहती हूँ कि अगर कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी अवेलेबल है और मैं अपना ही मैनेजर हूँ, अपना ही पेरेंट हूँ, अपना ही वो, तो मैं एज अ वो नहीं होता कि मेरे बच्चे को अपॉर्चुनिटी दें टाइप, वो मैं अपने लिए कर रही होती हूँ कि ये अपॉर्चुनिटी. बट इट वाज नेवर बेस्ड ऑन लाइक आई नेवर वांटेड फेवर्स. I never wanted favors. I just wanted to be well practiced and well prepared. And then, I ended up getting gigs I never thought I would get. And that's where the education part comes from. And since then, a good solution for me, because, financial trouble and everything, I only had a certain amount of grant. So I came back to Pakistan. And then luckily, this whole trend of residency programs around the world for musicians had started. So I just started applying. I applied like my first 2 years, I applied to like 10. And then the second year, I finally got into one. In 2015, I got into the Dosti Music Project, which took me to the States for 2 months. And we were collaborating with Indian and Pakistani artists and American artists. And then there was a tour and everything. We played at South by Southwest.
That's a big deal. Again, most people don't know.
Yeah.
Local उनमें नहीं पता उनको. हाँ, that's a big deal also.
तो फिर मेरी जो additional ट्रेनिंग और वो है वो फिर इन रेजिडेंसी प्रोग्राम्स पे हुई है, जो कि बहुत मैंने डाइवर्स स्टडी किया है. लाइक दोस्ती का एक बिल्कुल कंप्लीट डिफरेंट था. फिर मैंने एक बॉर्डर मूवमेंट किया था जो बर्लिन बेस्ड है, जो कि बेसिकली 2 महीनों के लिए took me to the world of DJs, producers, clubs, and got me involved and kind of studying that aspect of things and consumption of music from that degree and from that completely different lens. Like we're used to just going to concerts here and tring trang tring, but like DJs are an entire entity on their own.
They're
and they're
huge,
a
yeah.
musician on their own, and it was really exciting for me actually, because at some point I realized everyone's staring at the DJ and dancing and it's like, this is a concert, so then eventually this curiosity of like, how do I build a soundscape where I'm writing songs, but it feels like they're remixes, or it feels like like if you've heard Khud Se Baatein.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is one of the songs in the. We should have mentioned the album before. This is how good we are at promoting stuff. The album name is Ordinary Miracle. That's super powerful.
Actually, there are two names.
Okay.
I wanted to have two names because I wanted the Urdu community to also be able to say in their own language what the name is. So अंग्रेजी नाम है Ordinary Miracle,
Yeah.
लेकिन उर्दू नाम है हीरे मोती.
Heeray Moti.
हाँ, तो जब मैं पाकिस्तानी रेडियोस पे जाऊंगी इसको प्रमोट करने तो मैं एल्बम का नाम हीरे मोती बोलूंगी.
Heeray Moti. And both of those things are in the title on Spotify.
Yeah.
Where all is it available?
It's right now, it's the second day. I'm so excited. It's available on most streaming platforms. Actually, it's available, I think Apple's the only one left. It'll be available on Apple tomorrow or day after, but it's available
Okay,
on,
inshallah. Yeah.
It's available
And for a
everywhere.
2-day thing, अगर 2-day trend नहीं करना चाहिए कभी भी. Trend करना ही नहीं चाहिए कभी भी.
नहीं करना चाहिए.
हाँ.
अगर इतना एक्साइटिंग ट्रेंड हो तो करना चाहिए.
हाँ.
जैसी लाइव हुई थी उसके 10 सेकंड के अंदर 4 लिसनर्स थे मेरे.
Fantastic.
तो मुझे समझ नहीं आई कि ये इनको पता भी कैसे चला है. That means people are following me on the platforms and they're looking forward to it. So that was really nice. But I mean, it's been really nice looking at the stats because I have Spotify artists. So at least on one platform I can monitor what's happening. And anytime I open the app, there's at least 4 to 7 people listening all day long, every day for 2 days. And it's been really exciting. There's clear songs that have jumped to the top of my list, which people are like going back to again and again. Miracle being number 1 right now, and Heeray Moti being second.
That does not surprise me. Does not surprise me. Yeah.
It's really exciting, man. I mean, look, we're living in the land, a world of numbers, right? So like 16 million hits in the first 2 days, ये तो नहीं है मेरे पास. लेकिन मेरे लिए as an independent artist, जो एक independent label run कर रहा है, जो एक independent distribution company के साथ partner करके ये सारी चीज़ें statistics, monitor वगैरह study करने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ मैं. तो उस लिहाज से अगर मैं देखूं तो अब I'm at about 4,000 listens in 2 days for the whole album, and that's a win for me.
Well, here's how I would unpack that, right? First, you're making all the mistakes that someone would make who didn't want to go mass, who didn't want to appeal to the masses. So it doesn't have one language. The album doesn't have one language. It has मैंने शायद 5 सुनी है. Right? It doesn't have one language. It also doesn't have one target audience. It doesn't have one subject matter. These are things you don't do. These are cardinal mistakes. If you want to go to the masses, you need to, this is just what it is, right? One language, one message throughout the one theme throughout the album, and that's it. So you did none of that. And yet it sounds fantastic. But let's get into this, how it sounds and why that's important in our context in a little bit. Aapne bola independent label and you said independent distribution.
Yes.
Talk to me about that, please.
So I started in 2020. I started something called Tiny Dancer Live, which actually just started as a branch of the work Natasha does anyway, which is मुझे बचपन से जितने भी शौक हैं, it includes bringing people together. It includes bringing people to artists that I think they're going to enjoy. So from a really young age, I've been involved in like community work in Pakistan and Islamabad, which means if there's a festival happening, I'll show up, I'll help. I got, some friends in Karachi got in touch in 2013, 14 that they want to do a festival, and I helped them here. I went to Karachi, like, just मैं सोचती नहीं थी, बस मैं मोबिलिटी कर लेती थी. तो मैं कराची पहुंच जाती थी, इनके साथ शो करती थी, फिर उनको इस्लामाबाद बुला लेती थी. तो आहिस्ता आहिस्ता मैंने रियलाइज़ किया कि मुझे बस पार्टी थ्रो करने का शौक है. लेकिन वो होता है ना कि आपके जो स्ट्रेंथ्स हैं एट सम पॉइंट इतने सेकेंडरी हो जाते हैं कि आप हर चीज़ के लिए करना शुरू हो जाते हैं और आप रियलाइज़ नहीं करते कि इसका फ़ायदा जो है कोई और उठा रहा है.
I think that's the primary concern with artists in Pakistan is कि they think कि फ़ायदा कोई नहीं उठा रहा है, कि इस चीज़ का फ़ायदा हो नहीं रहा है.
बिल्कुल.
फ़ायदा आपको नहीं हो रहा है. Someone is making money off of you, off your back, and that's happening.
तो मेरे एक्सपीरियंस में like if I'm hired for a certain role in a project, let's say there's a festival happening and they just want me to be programs manager, right? As an individual, alhamdulillah, Allah Miya has given me a lot of capacity to do a varied degree of things. So what would happen is that I'd be hired for one thing, but be consulting for everything else.
You can't call it consulting if they're not paying you.
And so I realized that I'm getting the short end of the stick in this regard, and I was like, ये होना ही है तो फिर ये मेरे ब्रांड की तरफ से होना चाहिए कि आप इस कंपनी को हायर कर रहे हैं to do this entire breadth and width of work for you. So it started off as that, where if I'm working for a venue and I'm getting the concert together, the venue is getting all of the, Natasha Ejaz was one performer and she's a helpful person that was around, right? Instead, I wanted to start something that can become that brand for me so that I can actually professionally take this forward, because it's a strength of mine. So I started something called Tiny Dancer Live. And the vision for it has evolved over time as I have seen the needs and challenges of what it means to be a practitioner of arts and music in Pakistan.
Tell me, from what to what has it evolved?
From just being a consultant to help all of this stuff to becoming now a label, a publisher, a curation company, a music management company. So we've done everything from, like, ACCA wanted a song done for a campaign that they were working on. So Tiny Dancer Live got Gintara, one of our bands that we represent, involved. We had them, we hired us within Gintara. There's a very strong songwriter, so we directed the songwriter into working on the track. Then we got a collaborator involved. We produced the track. We got a producer involved, so I co-produced it mostly with Zara Paracha. और इस सिचुएशन में ये होता है कि मैं खुद प्रोड्यूसर हूँ, लेकिन कोई क्लाइंट काम होता है वो बहुत क्विक होता है, तो उस सिलसिले में मैं फिर दूसरे प्रोड्यूसर्स हायर करती हूँ, मैं उनको डायरेक्शन देती हूँ, तो वो इन टच होते हैं मुझसे कि आपको क्या चाहिए, मैं उनको साउंड्स देती हूँ, रेफरेंसेस देती हूँ, और मेरे साथ बहुत स्पेसिफिक डायरेक्शन आ जाती है प्रोडक्शन की. तो वो एक तरफ से चल रहा होता है, उसी प्रोडक्ट का वीडियो भी बनना है, तो उसकी कम से कम क्रिएटिव डायरेक्शन हैंडल करना या कंसल्टेशन हैंडल करना, और वो सब टाइनी डांसर लाइव के अम्ब्रेला में होता है. और उसके साथ साथ लोकली इस्लामाबाद और लाहौर में मैं शोज़ करवा रही हूँ बहुत सारे. जब भी शो करवाती हूँ तो वो तीन या 4 शो के शोज़ होते हैं आर्टिस्ट्स के, तो साइमल्टेनियसली वो क्यूरेट करना. और लास्ट जो था मेरा वो था कि लेबल होना ज़रूरी है, क्योंकि बहुत सारी चीज़ें होती हैं एक आर्टिस्ट के लिए जो सिर्फ एक आर्टिस्ट नहीं कर सकता. मेरे लिए कंफ्यूजिंग है क्योंकि मैं लेबल भी हूँ और आर्टिस्ट भी हूँ, तो मुझे कोई मदद नहीं करता. लेकिन मैं एक पायलट प्रोजेक्ट हूँ, मैं बचपन से एक पायलट प्रोजेक्ट हूँ, ये करना कैसे है. तो with an album like this, like I feel like I it needed a push, a big push. So anyway, so setting up the label with a local distribution company, their name is Silent Roar. It's led by Waqas Almas. He is also a very curious gentleman who's been doing very, very nerdy research for a long time, and he set up something called Silent Roar. He has his own team. They are local aggregators and distributors, which is basically like CD Baby online, और ये जो सारी distribution companies abroad होती हैं, लेकिन वो locally करते हैं. उसमें हमें individual attention मिलती है, कोई issue हो वो resolve हो जाता है बहुत जल्दी, कोई credit में change हो वो resolve हो जाता है बहुत जल्दी, इस तरह की चीज़ें. तो उनके साथ पिछले 2 साल से मैं काम कर रही हूँ, फिगर आउट करना कि जो रॉयल्टी कलेक्शन कंपनीज हैं उनके साथ रजिस्टर कैसे करना है अब्रॉड, ताकि अगर म्यूज़िक चले उसके पैसे कैसे आने हैं वापस पाकिस्तान, इस तरह की चीज़ें. सारे प्लेटफॉर्म्स पे अपने गाने पहुँचाना. फिर एक तीसरा टियर है जहाँ पे मैं मार्केटिंग कि कैंपेन्स जो हैं अपने डिज़ाइनर के साथ डिज़ाइन करके, हमारी ऑन बोर्ड डिज़ाइनर इस वक्त तो आर्ट डायरेक्टर ईमान शाहिद हैं. शी इज़ ऑल्सो अ सिंगर बट शी इज़ ऑल्सो अ वेरी वेरी टैलेंटेड आर्टिस्ट. सो उनको डायरेक्ट करना. सो दिस इज़ व्हाट टाइनी डांसर लाइव डज. खुद से बातें की जो वीडियो है वो टेक्निकली खुद से बातें, और गिनतारा की एक वीडियो थी बीवेयर, तो वो हमारी पहली वो हमारा प्रोजेक्ट है टाइनी डांसर लाइव का. उसमें बेसिकली ये था कि कॉन्सेप्ट हम इन हाउस डेवलप करते हैं और फिर हम एक टीम ढूंढते हैं जो उस कॉन्सेप्ट को आगे लेके जाए.
So the only question then becomes, all of this is fantastic, but the only question then becomes, how are you different? Because there's other entities and agencies who offer all of these services, right? There's concert karane wale bhi bahut sare log and throw some massive concerts. I'm talking youngsters, far as everyone, right? How do you feel that you differentiate from them? How because you could sign up with them and then you wouldn't have to have all this stress and you could just be an artist, right? So where is that motivation coming from to do this like this?
I think as an artist, I've also been in these big shows,
Yep.
and my frustrations again as it's evolved as I've noticed the needs and the challenges. These big concerts are fantastic, but they're number one. Whoever is doing well in the industry is already doing well, and they're gonna get hired. Tiny Dancer Live is trying to. I mean, it would be lovely if we can overlap and get the subculture represented with the mainstream. But the mainstream's getting the attention. What's happening to the subculture?
Nothing.
Right? So that's where we're putting a lot of our attention. And we are approaching marketing the subculture as mainstream as possible.
Okay.
Right?
And then also giving them the quality and all those things.
Exactly. So for instance, if you come to a Tiny Dancer Live show, without doubt, I can promise you sound will be 80 to 90% better than what you hear even on the big festivals.
80 to 90%.
Yes.
That's bold.
I'm just that confident because we've, again, built a team over time. I know what sound guys to work with. I'm fairly strong with technicals myself, but also we believe in hiring mix engineers for our shows. So we're different in the way that my attention has been in setting up the system that helps economize the industry on its own without what's it called? ये brands क्या देते हैं आपको? Sponsorships. Without brand sponsorships being the only revenue source. So what we've done over 3 years, which is why I feel like something like this takes time to build, is the most special thing is that we've developed a very, very loyal audience.
That's everything.
Right?
That's everything, yeah.
Because I don't exist without someone listening to me. It does, like I'm a tree falling in the forest, right? Like if someone doesn't want to listen to me, मेरा काम नहीं है कोई. तो मैंने ऑडियंस पे फोकस किया है कि एक तो मैं उनको शोज की क्वालिटी के हिसाब से ये प्रॉमिस कर रही हूँ कि आपको मजा आएगा.
Let's legitimize this claim a little bit. You've also performed at some major events, right? One that you're at liberty to say. Who have you performed with? What shows have you performed with? जिनकी बुनियाद पे आप ये बोल रहे हो कि I know how those things sound and run, and I'm telling you this is going to be better. Which is one that you?
I mean, my first big tour in Pakistan was the jazz tour with Atif Aslam. Jeez. That was in 2013, I think.
That's mashallah.
And then I have Telenor has brought me out to Oslo to do like a 30-piece orchestra show for my own music.
That's huge.
For something called the Telenor Cultural Prize, which is a very, very prestigious award that they give to a Norwegian who's been culturally very relevant. So, मतलब मैं नहीं हूँ Norwegian, लेकिन they fly me in from Pakistan to do music there. And I've now been called in twice to that show. I've also worked with, as we mentioned earlier, the Malaysian Philharmonic Orchestra and South by Southwest. And just Tina Sani and I have been on tour together. There's a lot.
Yeah. So so what I'm trying to say is, and the reason why we're not trying to be braggadocious.
Not dropping names.
No, but we're not trying to be braggadocious here. But I just, it's important because इसके अलावा people are like, हाँ ठीक है, आप ये claim कर रही हैं, लेकिन आप हैं कौन? And what have you experienced? Because unfortunately, we resort to this because we want some kind of contextual anchor, ना कि अच्छा आप बोल तो रहे हो, ठीक है, और शायद आप सही बात बोल रहे हो, लेकिन आपने देखा क्या है? But you've seen all of this, and you're still claiming 80 to 90%, dude. I'm gonna have
I can tell you, I mean, as long as you're a music lover, as long as you're someone who likes to sit down and actually enjoy music, right?
Yeah.
Our artists are phenomenal.
Of course. Yeah.
And our sound is great. And generally the vibe with which we run our shows is very inclusive and family oriented.
That's so important.
It's
That's so
really
important.
important. Like some of our मेरे जो regulars हैं वो 7-7 8-8 साल के बच्चे हैं जिनको पता चल जाता है like उन मतलब हम एक बच्ची है जो इंतज़ार कर रही होती है कि टाइनी डांसर लाइव का नेक्स्ट शो कब होगा. एक हमारे आर्टिस्ट्स के ही छोटे भाई बहन हैं जो कि इंतज़ार करते हैं हमारे बड़े फेस्टिवल का कि वो कब होगा. और वो जो बड़ा फेस्टिवल है वो मैं कोलैबोरेशन विद 2-3 और ऐसी इंडिपेंडेंट एंटिटीज़ हैं. केप मॉन्स एक है इधर कराची में और एको रिकॉर्ड्स है इस्लामाबाद में. तो हम इकट्ठे मिलकर गुड सीन करते हैं. तो हम सबकी फ़िलासफ़ियाँ मिलती हैं और हम वो लोग ढूंढते हैं, आर्टिस्ट ढूंढते हैं जिनकी फ़िलासफ़ी मिलती हैं. लेकिन आप देखें लाइक फ़िलासफ़ी कितनी बड़ी टियर से मिल सकती है. हमारा एक आर्टिस्ट था जो बिल्कुल अप एंड कमिंग था इस साल, साद मजहर. लेकिन हमारे सम हेडलाइनिंग एक्ट्स फॉर पीपल लाइक हनिया असलम, जिमी खान, नताशा नूरानी.
Wow.
ठीक है.
Yeah.
तो अब ये एक फेस्टिवल में आपको सारा मिल रहा है, राइट. और वो हम अगेन ये एक कम्प्लीटली इंडिपेंडेंट एफर्ट है और जो आर्टिस्ट हमारे साथ काम करते हैं वो समझते भी हैं ये. लेकिन जो गुड सीन का पहला चैप्टर था उसमें हमने बस कॉस्ट्स कवर की थी और हमने आर्टिस्ट को नहीं पे किया था. इस साल हम हर आर्टिस्ट को एक सर्टेन नॉमिनल फ़ी दे सकें जो कि 12-13 आर्टिस्ट थे.
That's
अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह.
fantastic.
ठीक है.
Yeah.
तो अब उसका रिजल्ट ये था कि पीपल लाइक जिमी फॉर इंस्टेंस हु प्लेड फर्स्ट ईयर फॉर फ्री गॉट पेड द सेकंड ईयर एंड कॉल्ड मी आफ्टर द शो एंड सेड आई एम सो प्राउड that this growth has happened.
Yeah.
Right. So even if you're paying like 15 people a nominal fee, it's a massive chunk of money.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
People don't understand that.
Yeah, and it's coming from somewhere. And where it's coming from is the trust that I've developed with my audiences. I'm going to charge a hefty fees for this festival because this is the only way we're running it. You bring a corporate, they're going to have their own agenda. I'm not here for other people's agendas. Right. So what's been happening, which is really beautiful, is like we charge 3,000 rupees for this festival, up to 3,000 rupees or 4,000 rupees for this festival. But the people that are going to come, they're going to be safe. Their
Inshallah.
children can be there. It's a beautiful day in Islamabad when we do this festival. The venue is beautiful. The artists are great. So it just, all in all, our first show, not the festival, but TDL's second show was a Mikal Hassan band show.
Oh man, those guys are phenomenal.
They're so good. And I curated them in a small venue in Islamabad and it is the best they have sounded. I'm sorry, I'm making tall claims. And I have the videos and everything जो मैंने अभी तक उनको नहीं डाला. लाइक एक पूरा लेयर है टाइनी डांसर लाइव का जिसके लिए मुझे टीम चाहिए जो कि हमारी आर्काइव शो केसिंग है जिसके अंदर मेरे पास बहुत सारा काम पड़ा हुआ है जो रिकॉर्डेड है, ऑडियो भी रिकॉर्डेड है, वीडियो भी रिकॉर्डेड है. बट आई नीड टू हैंड इट ओवर टू समबडी टू बी लाइक ऑन द रेगुलर, प्लीज पुट दिस ऑन आवर यूट्यूब. बट व्हेन दैट स्टफ गोज अप आई एम सो एक्साइटेड बिकॉज Mikal Hassan has never sounded that good even though he always sounds so good. Right. But so I guess that's how we differ. Like this is coming from, again, and I will say this again and again, I am a huge nerd. So I'm constantly monitoring. I'm constantly taking in statistics and it is constantly being absorbed by me and being regurgitated in an improved program, the best that I know how. And the only reason we've been able to survive and to do this is because of our artists. The artists that have decided to work with us have put faith and trust. And that also comes from, look, I've been doing this for doggies years, right? I've been doing this professionally since I was 16. I've been just out there. So I think it's, and that's basically 20 years of...
I was going to say, you probably should mention because you don't look it.
Yeah.
You've been here.
I'm 16 right now.
MashaAllah.
It's been 20 years that I've been consistently, doggedly pursuing a fair, nurturing environment for the culture and arts to exist in the country that I love and is not being given what I think it deserves. So I think with that just comes, that's why people want to trust me because now they know कि मैंने rigmarole भी किया हुआ है and they know मैंने पढ़ाई भी की हुई है. तो वो सोचे बगैर फिर कह सकते हैं कि करने दो इसे, हम पीछे हैं तुम्हारे. मैं बहुत lucky हूँ. Hania Aslam being like one of them, Mikal Hassan being one of them. I'm talking about the big names, all of my artists, Natasha Noorani being one of them. Like these people said yes from the start. I said, I'm starting something. I don't know how it's going to work, but I just, you know, उस ज़माने अब तो मेरी थोड़ी एंग्जाइटी और नर्वस सिस्टम बेहतर है, लेकिन उस ज़माने में यही चीज़ ना मैं यूँ अप्रोच कर रही होती थी कि म्यूज़िक बहुत ज़रूरी है और यू नो
They're like, we know.
यू नो तो या एक इम्पोर्टेंट जर्नी थी मेरे लिए. और वो एक चीज़ होती है ना, आप एक चीज़ को जस्टिफाई, एक एक्शन को, एक बिहेवियर को जस्टिफाई करने के लिए कोई रीज़न दे दो, लेकिन एट द हार्ट ऑफ इट आप कोई गट इंस्टिंक्ट फॉलो कर रहे होते हो. आप उसकी जस्टिफिकेशन सिर्फ इसलिए ढूंढते हो क्योंकि बाकियों को समझना और उनको पुल इन करना ज़रूरी है.
How else are you going to explain it to everyone else?
ठीक है, तो उनकी परसेप्शन को अलाइन करना ज़रूरी है. तो पता नहीं क्यों, आई डोंट नो क्यों आता है हमारे दिमागों में कि हम बदलना चाहते हैं ज़िंदगी और दुनिया. और मैं बड़ी चेंजेस नहीं ला सकती. लाइक मैं जाके रैलीज़ नहीं कर सकती, मैं जाके पार्लियामेंट में नहीं बैठ सकती, मैं पॉलिटिक्स नहीं ऑन बोर्ड ले सकती, मैं ऐसी बड़ी चीज़ें नहीं कर सकती. लेकिन अगर मैं ख़ुद सीख जाऊँ और एक तो मॉडल कर लूँ वो बिहेवियर जो मैं चाहती थी कि मुझे मिला हो while growing up. You know, from the age of 16 to 26, 27, 30, let's say, the kind of challenges I faced in the industry, I mean, they could have been enough to be like, I'm not doing this. I'm just going to study something else. It's not worth it.
Mention some of them.
Oh, wow. Let's see. Okay. Big challenge. I don't fall, or I used to not fall under the category of what was considered a beauty standard in Pakistan. Right? I'm short. I have dark skin. I'm a really good actor, so I can probably put up the front of like being Bond girl, but that's not my base personality. And when I started, I was like one of 3 girls that were doing what we're doing locally. And
which is this kind of music?
Which is a career only a music career.
Who were the other 2?
People like Hania, people like Zoe Vikaji, Rachel Vikaji, locally और कौन कर रहा था, सारा हैदर. ठीक है, हम 4-5 ही लड़कियां थीं जो शोज के लिए हायर हो रही होती थी. ठीक है, तो उसमें फिर चाहे हम करें या ना करें एक नैरेटिव ऑफ कंपटीशन रहता है. तो उस चैलेंज में मैं हमेशा पीछे रह जाती थी क्योंकि आई एम नॉट टॉल एंड आई एम नॉट ब्यूटिफुल एंड आई एम, you know, and it didn't matter how well I sang.
Yeah, it didn't matter how good the music was, how well you sounded, none of that.
Then none of it mattered. None of it mattered. What mattered is people don't want to see me dance on stage because, you know, like I would rather see other girls dance on stage. So it was like I felt bad for them also. It's like, you're a musician. Why do you have to be sexualized? But can you do this without being sexualized? You know, like, no.
आखिर में किचन चलाना होता है. What are they going to do?
Right? You know, exactly. So there was things like that. Then there was things like, again, it didn't matter how good I was. It didn't matter how, what the standard and the maturity of my writing was. I wasn't getting hired for the big shows. In fact, I was getting hired and fired for the big shows. It's happened to me twice now. Once in the beginning of my career and once last year. Last year. So you know what I mean?
What, you're not at liberty to say. Are you at liberty to say what happened last year?
I don't. Just that I was approached for the show. I was made to write for the show, but they're not using it for the show.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
So, and those decisions are driven by what? Social media numbers right now? I don't know. I don't know what those decisions are driven by. I just don't care anymore. But the challenge is that, you know, and eventually it started wearing down on my self-confidence and it started wearing down on how I perceive myself, and I thought I was ugly for a long time.
यार ये हम करते हैं, ये हम एज अ मुआशरा नहीं, हमारी स्पेशलाइजेशन है
Yeah,
ये,
yeah.
हाँ ये तो है.
Yeah, right. So it really like, and I think the big challenge, the mental health. So you know, I'm so sincere, so genuine, just want the job, just merit, I will audition, this personality, positive attitude, and then slowly and steadily just getting hacked on all the edges. Don't be that confident. Nobody's going to give you work. Don't, you know, you're not even beautiful. You're too skinny. You're too thin. You're too short. All sorts of things. And then
Everything except what matters, which is how good I sound, because this is music. It is
Or-
not anything else.
even more, what do I have to say?
वो तो खैर,
You
खैर,
know?
right? And I think again, these might sound like tall claims, but if I could just have you detail, because this is so much quality that goes into this album. ये मैंने पहले भी आपसे बात की हुई है कि there's a reason why our music, as in locally produced Pakistani music, doesn't sound. It might. It's we love it. It's fantastic, but it doesn't sound as good as Indian music or music made in America or wherever else, because it's just not the same quality. It's literally not the same quality of mics. It's not the same quality of post production, right? So, but yeah, आपका वाला जो album है, because आपने पढ़ाई इतनी की हुई है, it has been, people have remarked कि this sounds, अब ये तो अच्छी बात नहीं है कहने के लिए, लेकिन it sounds like it's not made in Pakistan, but ये क्या बात हुई, right? But it sounds like something that would qualify for international standards of stuff, right? That's been said.
Yeah. I'm very lucky that that's been said. So it was kind of, I'm very lucky. When I went to college, I met one of my professors was the gentleman who has co-produced this album with me. His name is Rishabh Rajan. मेरे teacher होते थे ये.
That's fantastic.
और उनके साथ back in the day मैंने Curiosity शुरू की थी, जिसका result था 4-track EP called It Might Get Glitchy, which is also on all platforms right now. And now 13 years later, he's co-producing this album with me. He's currently a professor at Berkeley, Boston.
Please, for the people who don't know, ज़्यादातर जो सुन रहे हैं अब उनको पता ही होगा, इतना अगर हमें सुन लिया उन्हें, लेकिन what is Berkeley?
Berkeley is one of the leading music schools in the world.
In the world,
in
yes.
the world. So he teaches there, and it was very much a desire of both of ours that we at least scratch at the surface and flesh out what it means to produce something that could potentially be Grammy worthy.
In terms of, again, quality.
In terms of technicality and quality. And so what's, I think, really special for me is with someone like Rishabh on your project, you don't need to produce yourself. But a lot of my songwriting has developed through production now for me. And what you hear on the album, कुछ 5-6 साल पहले किसी और की प्रोडक्शन ज़्यादा होती और मेरी कम होती, you know, contribution. लेकिन इस वक्त हम 50-50 पे चल रहे हैं in terms of tracks में कितना एज ए टेक्निकल किसी ने कंट्रीब्यूट किया है. तो वही जो मैं बात करी थी ना कि मैं एक नर्ड हूँ और मुझे पढ़ाई का शौक है, तो उसका अब नेक्स्ट लेयर शुरू हो गया है कि अगर ग्लोबल सक्सेस विद इन रीच है, क्योंकि अरूज आफ्ताब हैज शोन अस.
Yes, she has.
She's put Pakistan on the map. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aruj.
Thank you, Aruj. She's put Pakistan on a map that, I mean, we're so lucky, you know, to especially have a woman represent Pakistan on the Grammys, you know, and she's won, and then she's also performed on the Grammys at this point. So, but I also know Aruj, and I know that she had to work so hard, and she had to be in the States to do this, and it has taken her years. This didn't happen overnight for her. She's really, really dedicated time and energy and love and a genuine like desire for being herself on record that has brought her here. So keeping that in mind and keeping how well things like Joyland have done, things like, you know, there's so many other, like Pakistan sports and culture is basically Pakistan का नाम जो इस वक्त shine हो रहा है ना, वो आर्ट्स कल्चर और स्पोर्ट्स की वजह से हो रहा है. और हमारी
everything else is done.
हाँ, बाकी सब खत्म हो गया है, ठीक है. लेकिन अगर आप इसको बस देख लो कि अगर आप कर लो किसी तरह तो विद इन रीच है सब.
So it's two things I want to say. The one thing is very interesting is आप सोचो जब भी एक ये वाला narrative posit होता है कि पाकिस्तान में सब कुछ है, no one ever says सब कुछ actually means the human capital. Everyone's like हमारे पास पहाड़ हैं, तो पहाड़ तो आपके कमाल नहीं है ना. हमारे पास valleys हैं. You're just born here, right? That doesn't.
Yeah.
But think about our cricket team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Think about our artists. Think about our actors. Even think about our
अली सेठी और मतलब अली सेठी और
Shegil.
शेगिल ने जो किया है हमारे लिए, मतलब हम पहुंच गए यो. और कौन आगे बढ़ा रहे हैं नामों को. इट्स ऑल द आर्ट एंड इट्स इनसेन दैट वी आर द लीस्ट, लाइक वी ऑन द नीड pyramid, we're all the way down here. Like arts are not a need, but
No.
arts are your one ticket to some kind of salvation right now. And also during COVID, what did everyone do? Everyone turned to the arts when they had nowhere to go. I know because I was doing lives every day. I had like 100 people on my lives every day because क्या करेगा बंदा? Eventually तो कहीं से आपको आराम चाहिए, आपको पीस चाहिए, और आप आर्ट्स को टर्न करते हो जो आपको ये चीजें चाहिए होती हैं.
I don't remember this. There's a quote. I mean, it's so frustrating that I've forgotten that quote. But it said something about economics, chemistry, physics. This is what makes life something. But poetry, literature, the arts, this is what makes life worth living, right? Because otherwise, yeah, आप गुजार तो लोगे, गुजर तो जाती है, right?
मेरा एक गाना है, ये भी गुजर जाएगी. Continue. Self-promotion.
Absolutely, yes. But we're not promoting. This is not.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
We're not promoting. This is just a conversation. Come on. But what's it called? But speaking of promotion, right? And this is very, very interesting that it said all of these people now, Shay and Ali ho gaye, they've been in this industry for a while. Yeah, Uruj Aftab ho gayi. Like you said, ek kisam ka wo hai. It takes absolutely nothing away from her, but she was in the States and she had access to, what's interesting? Recently, Amazon Prime Pay, AP Dillon. I love AP Dillon so much. AP Dillon ki jo hai, wo aayi hai. There's a documentary, there's a 6-part documentary. It's interesting. He moved to Canada as an adult. He moved to Canada and then garnered all this fame from there, right? Why is that? Because basic facilities uske paas in India, Punjab mein nahi maujud thi. If a man known for putting Punjabi music, isko synth pop bolenge, I don't know what to call it at this point. I just call it AP Dillon. He's a mood at this point. So a man known for doing that in Punjabi had to go to Canada to get the facilities. This is how important facilities are, right? But your claim is that there are people who could make a financially feasible thing staying in Pakistan?
To a certain degree, yes, absolutely. I mean, so what's lovely is the last 5 years has given us a massive burst of new producers within Pakistan.
Yeah.
Really good producers. Really, really, really good producers. I also highly encourage people to do the thing and find people abroad to collaborate with in terms of technicals. One of the reasons the album sounds the way it does is because Rishabh was doing first mixes himself at his studio, then taking those mixes, listening to the mixes in the Berkeley space, which is decked out, right? Professional. He went for the masters to a place called The Bakery in LA, and that was a completely different setup, right? So there are websites, there are spaces that you can access where you can get your mixes and masters done abroad. Don't be shy of doing that. I know the dollar rate is what it is, but you can find cheaper situations. I think what's lacking here, Pakistan में mastering suites proper नहीं है. हनिया असलम कर रही हैं थोड़ा, उनका setup जो है इस वक्त इस्लामाबाद में बहुत प्रो लेवल हो गया. इधर अलिफ का भी बहुत बेहतर है एक्चुअली. हाँ, कहने का मकसद ये है कि थोड़ी पढ़ाई करनी पड़ेगी, थोड़ा होमवर्क करना पड़ेगा. कुछ भी अगर सिल्वर प्लेटर पे आपको मिल रहा है ना, तो आप जरा केयरफुल ही रहो.
Because it might be taken away from you.
Taken away or given for the wrong reasons also. You really end up, people want you to owe them.
Yeah.
In the way that we have grown up in this society, right? So I think it's absolutely possible to produce music that is of international standard. You have to be open to putting in the time, not just to study yourself and have enough technical information that someone's not taking you for a ride. And number two, you have to put in faith and trust into the universe that if this wasn't meant to be, then you wouldn't have gotten the idea in the first place.
You're a very hopeful person for someone who's been around for as long as you have in the industry. Yeah, inshallah. I don't see why not. Tell me how you built up to the album. How does that happen? Why call it what you did? How all of it, all of whatever you're comfortable sharing.
Wow. We started a year ago, Rishab and I had just gone through my 5th major trauma in life. And he incidentally had gotten in touch in that same area a period of time, wanting to do something. And it started off with just a couple of meetings and listening sessions of what I've been writing. I haven't been releasing for a really long time, लेकिन मैं diligent writer हूँ, तो मैं बहुत लिख रही थी. कोविड में ना मैं बहुत लिखा है, बहुत लिखा है. We initially started with trying to go over some of this music, and for two producers to work together, there needs to be an alignment of what we're both vibing with. So we ended up making selections that he also felt like he could do something with this. And then my career in life takes me to a lot of places and travel, and my my brother often jokes, he's like, तुम्हारा नहीं पता होता तुम कब कहाँ होती हो. मेरे भाई को नहीं पता होता बेचारे को.
आपको पता होता है? That's okay.
हाँ,
That's all right.
मुझे मतलब 2 weeks और 3 months के हिसाब से थोड़ा आइडिया होता है कभी कभी. लेकिन मैंने अपना माइंड ओपन रखा हुआ है कि कोई अपॉर्चुनिटी आ सकती है. कोई मैंने ना आई थिंक मैंने वो जो एक प्लानिंग और सेल्फ कंट्रोल वाला एक हिस्सा होता है ना इंसान की ज़िंदगी में, वो मैंने अपने पीछे छोड़ा हुआ है टू अ सर्टेन डिग्री. मैं माई डेली या डे टू डे प्लान करती हूँ, लेकिन मेरे बड़े प्लान्स जो है ना वो 3 से 6 महीने से ज़्यादा मैं कर नहीं रही, क्योंकि मैं जब प्लान करती थी ना तो मुझे लगता था कि मैं फ़्लो के अगेंस्ट जा रही हूँ. जो अल्लाह मियाँ, जो यूनिवर्स मुझे भेज रही है, वो अगर इस तरफ जा रही है और उसको चुपचाप एक्सेप्ट कर लो कि ये अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ आ रही हैं तुम्हारी तरफ, तो ज़िंदगी थोड़ी आसान रहती है. लेकिन जब हम इंसान हैं, हम चाह कुछ रहे होते हैं, तो हम इस तरफ जाना शुरू हो जाते हैं. That has caused me a lot of distress.
I had to, sorry, there was a bit of an interruption. We were talking about जो जोश ने माही वे गाने में भी कहा था कि मुझे ऐसा बना दें कि मैं आपकी रज़ा में राज़ी हो जाऊँ.
हाँ, वो और मुझे ना वो लगे हैं 2 साल to shift gears into really letting my it's taken me 2 years to figure out what that feels like, because when you're so used to going against the grain, then your body kind of rejects this newness, right?
Well, I think there needs to be a distinction made here, because there's a lot of, there's people, artists especially, who look up to you, and art में वैसे भी कोई structure as such होता नहीं है, so they only have inspirations and mentors. That's all they have, right? Putting up boundaries against toxicity is not going against the grain. That's not the same,
Yeah.
because people are going to be like, अच्छा तो फिर अगर if we're just meant to let everyone take advantage of us, तो फिर चलेंगे. But that's not at all what you're saying, right?
नहीं, going against the grain, मैं ये कह रही थी कि yeah, maybe that's the incorrect term. Going against the universe's plan really affected my nervous system and my body in a real experiential kind of way, where I was literally, I think I was having like brain, like, it's things like I did a project with a big name. I'm not going to name them, but I did a project with a big name, and I remember there was this point where something untowards was happening, not in a harassment or anything that kind of way, in a more professional work ethic kind of way.
Say more. Or don't.
नहीं, मैं इसको इस तरह कहने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ कि वो थोड़ा कॉन्टेक्चुअलाइज हो जाए. हम एक रिकॉर्डिंग कर रहे थे और जो चीज़ प्रॉमिस थी वो सिर्फ तब तक प्रॉमिस थी जब तक काम ख़त्म हो जाए. Do you get it?
No, not really.
मैं इतना
Okay, no.
वेग क्यों बोल रही
नहीं,
हूँ?
नहीं, okay, so
मैं basically, I just don't want to get into the details of the actual event because they might watch it. But what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of people who I have worked with for like 5 years. And then on the 6th year, I feel like, listen, this pattern, I don't like it. So I'm not going to respond to this anymore.
delayed payments?
There's been delayed payments. There's been like promises of adding the artist that I'm recording into the branding profile of the project and them saying yes, but then not doing it because काम हो गया तो अब ज़रूरत नहीं है to keep that promise.
To be nice to you, क्या ज़रूरत है? That's such a short-term way of thinking, dude.
Exactly.
It's so self-defeating.
Right? तो वो जब मुझे नज़र आना शुरू हुआ इतना obviously, तो फिर मैं started standing up also. बदतमीजी शतमीजी नहीं, लेकिन जिस कह देती थी कि आप सीनियर हैं हमारे और अगर आपके वर्ड पे मैं भरोसा नहीं कर सकती तो फिर मैं like
मसला ये है कि एनी पोजीशन रिक्वायर्स रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी और जिम्मेदारी अगर हम लेते होते अकाउंटेबिलिटी तो हम यहाँ पे थोड़ी होते, फिर तो ये नहीं होता ना. बट अगेन जस्ट दैट डिस्टिंक्शन नीड्स टू बी मेड कि उनकी रजा में राजी होने का मतलब ये नहीं है कि आप लोगों का बर्दाश्त करो. लोग तो लोग हैं, यू नो, एंड इफ दे आर बीइंग मीन टू you obviously should stand up for yourself and just, if nothing else, Allah आपको बहुत हिम्मत दे इंशाल्लाह, but at least just remove yourself from that. You know, just protect yourself.
तो उन लोगों के साथ फिर काम करना, फिर मैंने ये भी बहुत हुआ over the years, जैसे जैसे ये चीज़ें एक शेप लाती गई, मैंने ये भी देखा कि मैं शायद कम लोगों के साथ काम करूँगी अब. पहले मैं बहुत लोगों के साथ काम करती थी, सबसे सीखा, very nice. But now my choices have become ease. I will only work with people that create ease in the work and professional environment, which means, are you showing up on time? Are you doing your work? Do I have to sit and manage you? Because I don't have time for that.
I'm not a babysitter.
I'm not a babysitter. I'm not your mom. You know, so you do, if you are showing up 100% passionate, I don't care if there are mistakes in the work that you do. I don't care if they're, you know, because mistakes are an excellent opportunity to like see where the discrepancy is and then be more creative. Limitations are fantastic as a creative.
I think it's so ridiculous that you've articulated it in this way, because Jokhe Bhai was on the podcast a few episodes ago. His name is not unko Jokhe Bhai, Jokhe unka naam bana diya. But Jokhe Bhai asked him, I was like, what does it take to be a good rapper? He is with the young producer of the youngsters and everything. He's like, banda acha ho. I'm like, how does that? He's like, baki sab ho jayega. Banda needs to be sincere and acha. Imagine that you said the exact same thing.
It's 100% true. It is cutting off toxicity. It doesn't, the bigger the name is in this country, the more toxic they are. Okay. The more you are in the A-list, there are very few A-list actors and musicians that I have worked with that have a kind approach towards life and work.
That's unfortunate, no? Because if they just realize that if they were kind, and I've heard this argument made also कि अगर वो काइंड होते तो वो वहाँ पहुँचते नहीं जहाँ वो पहुँच गए. लेकिन मैं समझता हूँ वो तो उनका नसीब है ना, उनको वहाँ तो पहुँचना था. बट इफ दे वर काइंड, दे वुड फॉस्टर अ कम्युनिटी अराउंड देम, एंड देन यू नो मोर पीपल वुड थ्राइव.
Absolutely.
यू नो वो वाला मसला है ना कि हमें लगता है कि अगर किसी और को मिल जाएगा तो हमारे लिए कम हो जाएगा. कैसे? अगर अल्लाह ने डिसाइड किया हुआ है तो कैसे
रिस्क तो लिखा है यार, रिस्क तो लिखा है. मेरा रिस्क मुझसे कोई नहीं ले सकता ना, मैं किसी का रिस्क ले सकती हूँ उससे. तो ये जो लेग पुलिंग होती है ना इंडस्ट्री में कि एक प्रोजेक्ट आ रहा है और 2 लड़कियां हैं, कौन लेगा ये प्रोजेक्ट, किसका बनेगा ये प्रोजेक्ट, कौन गाएगा ये वाला फिल्म का गाना, वाओ. और मैंने कभी मेरिट ऑडिशन पे आप मुझे हायर कर लें, मैं हायर हो जाऊंगी. लेकिन मुझे अगर बातें बनानी पड़े, मुझे अगर आपके साथ पार्टी करना हो, यू नो, मुझे अगर शो अप करना हो, और अगर मुझे लुक ब्यूटीफुल करना हो, जो कि वैसे ही आप समझते हैं कि मैं नहीं हूँ, ठीक है, तो मेरा तो वक्त ज़ाया हो रहा है. मैं 6 गाने लिख सकती इस पार्टी के दौरान, यू नो, लाइक.
But I think what's truly beautiful, and again we are talking about this in the context of your album, but really about any artist trying to do anything, is because of the social medias, because of the internet, it has never been easier to, like you said, foster an audience, right? It has never been easier than it is now कि आप ये सारे जो लोग हैं, ये सारे जो big wigs हैं, okay, will you become a millionaire? Again, risk है, मुझे नहीं पता. Maybe you become, who knows, right? The youngsters, Hassan Rahim, all of these guys, Manu, all of these guys, Tahaji, doing it from their house. You know, no label in the traditional sense involved, no corporates, or none of that, right? So who's to say? But you could, at the very least, and this is everything, you could foster an audience, you know. And I think it's fantastic. Again, like I said, I don't make money off the podcast. कभी होगा कभी नहीं होगा मुझे नहीं पता है. But I think it means almost everything when people will come up to me and they'll be like, और वो अब थोड़ा होता है, पहले तो नहीं होता था, अब थोड़ा होता है. Alhamdulillah, people will be like, यार, I've been following you since your 5th episode. Like, he's like, you've lost a bit of weight. I'm like, all right, right? And they'll be like, ये देखें, ये मेरा comment है. I don't know. If we don't have human connection, foster community, na? सही है क्या है? So you foster community, na? I think that's everything. And I think वही वाली बात है, you can inadvertently take these people out of the mix. And I don't know if they're good or bad. मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ, right? But they're not behaving in a way that is good for you, and that should say something.
Actually, they're not behaving in a way that's good for them. You see?
Bold claim.
Number one, either make the distinction that this is an industry or this is a monopoly for purely like academic reasons. A monopoly is where there's one party that's
in control, in
charge, and is getting all the benefits, right? An industry comprises of more than one individual. An industry is not going to go forward if it's run like a monopoly.
अच्छा, यहाँ पे जो है ना एक और चीज़ है, यहाँ पे people get stuck up on the words, so let's just introduce this idea. An oligopoly is an industry जिसमें 5 या 10 बड़ी parties होते हैं and they collude and then behave like a monopoly. Same thing. Don't semantic distinctions नहीं offer करें अभी बात हो रही है.
हाँ, मेरे कहने का मकसद ये था, इंडिविजुअल लेवल पे ले आते हैं. मुझे कभी ऐसा नहीं लगता था कि अगर मैं मुझे कभी ऐसा नहीं लगता था मैं अकेली में सक्सेसफुल हो सकती हूँ.
Okay.
मुझे हमेशा ये लगता था कि अगर आप भी सक्सेसफुल हैं और आप भी सक्सेसफुल हैं और आप भी सक्सेसफुल हैं, हम एज एन इंडस्ट्री सक्सेसफुल हैं. ठीक है, क्योंकि एक इंडस्ट्री में सिर्फ एक रोल भी नहीं होता. म्यूज़िक इंडस्ट्री में सिर्फ आप एक म्यूज़िक डायरेक्टर बन सकते हैं, आप एक राइटर बन सकते हैं, आप एक सिंगर बन सकते हैं, आप इंस्ट्रूमेंटलिस्ट बन सकते हैं, आप स्टूडियो इंजीनियर बन सकते हैं, आप डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन पब्लिशर. आपके पास इतनी चॉइसेस हैं एक्चुअली रोल्स की, जो कि अब आहिस्ता आहिस्ता डेवलप हो रही हैं पाकिस्तान में. मैनेजमेंट, राइट? हर इंसान का ना एक जगह बन जाती है कहीं. उन सब रोल्स को लेके एक आपको क्या लगता है, आरियाना ग्रांडे
yeah
any of these big pop artists, Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, Miley Cyrus,
The
Weeknd. I'm sorry, I'm naming only women, pop, women and pop. But all of these people, they don't get there by themselves.
No, of course not. Of course not. AP Dillon, of course
AP
not.
Dillon.
Yeah. Just, come on. How could we not?
Nobody gets there on their own. Number one. Number two. So what was your question?
It's okay. We're talking about how I was like कि ये जो है, you have to figure out कि these people, the corporate bigwigs, they may be not acting in your best interest.
And I
you were
said,
like, not even in their own best interest.
Not even in their own best interest, right? So now what's happening is, and not even corporates, let's just, I'm talking about like people that have power and monopoly over here. Like, by the end of it, you're just going to be alone, a king in a castle. And everything that you're not facing for yourself as a human being, which means that if you are so obsessed with trying to look that cool, what are you ignoring about your own personal growth that is not allowing you to see other people the same way? What is happening with you that you need to project this much about yourself without keeping in mind that we are a social animal, that we belong because of each other. and for each other and with each other. And the isolated eventually suffer from great diseases and have a very, very tragic death where they don't have friends sitting next to them, where they don't have. And also, दुआ किसी के लिए अच्छा करना, आप एक छोटी सी चूंटी की साइज की चीज़ भी हो जो आपने कर दी हो, उसका जो मतलब, क्योंकि हम अगर हम अपनी तरफ से जो एक नॉन थिंग होती है जो अच्छी कर देते हैं, वो जो रिसीवर होता है उस नॉन थिंग का, उसकी ज़िंदगी के पर्सपेक्टिव के हिसाब से कितनी बड़ी चीज़ होगी वो.
It's everything. It's everything. Yeah.
ठीक
It's
है,
everything.
तो उस दुआ में जो पावर है वो आप क्यों रिजेक्ट करोगे अपने लिए यार? वो एक सोर्स है, वो एक अबंडेंस सोर्स है जो हम मतलब वो is irreplaceable for this, yo. So that's what I'm saying. Like, whoever's not looking at their own toxicity, and I'm saying this. I've been in therapy for many years, and I recognize the toxicity in myself also, and I do it every day. None of us are perfect. All of us have to integrate our shadow. I'm just saying, I've noticed I have a happier life now that I have integrated done all this shadow work, right? So like it's like those things where like हमारे जो seniors थे वो इतने लैक मेंटालिटी है ना पाकिस्तान में,
famine mentality, lack, हाँ.
ठीक है, तो वो एक ही प्रोजेक्ट है तो बस उसको नोच लो, ठीक है, बच्चों को चांस ना दो, हमने हमने इतना काम किया और इतना हमें मिलना चाहिए. बिल्कुल, आपकी इज्जत, आपका रोल, आपका इंस्पिरेशन जो आपने किया है हमारे मुल्क के लिए, वो एक तरफ उसको कोई नहीं छेड़ सकता. लेकिन एक तो आप नहीं होंगे हमेशा इधर, कौन लेके बढ़ेगा ये चीज़ें? अगर आपको आर्ट्स और कल्चर की ही इतनी कदर है तो आप उसको बंजर ज़माना, आप बंजर क्यों छोड़ के जा रहे हैं उसे? क्योंकि अगर आप नहीं करेंगे मेंटोर, अगर आप नहीं करेंगे सपोर्ट, अगर आप यूथ को जगह नहीं देंगे, तो आप एक बंजर छोड़ के जा रहे हैं जहाँ पे आपको सारे फ़वाइद मिल रहे थे, आपके पास सब कुछ था, ठीक है, लेकिन आपने वो कनेक्शंस नहीं फॉस्टर करने दी कि वो सब कुछ किसी और को चला जाए.
Yep. Yeah. That's it. And I've matlab, listen, I don't know how they come to terms with this stuff, but I feel like it's just improper parenting, it's improper education, it's all of those. It's hurt children. Listen, you're behaving like a child if you do this. If you weasel someone out of an opportunity, which I've seen happen multiple times, you are behaving like a child. And इसमें ना एक वो आता है, it's a phrase, and it's not even a good phrase, लेकिन वो जो है उस पे अप्लाई होता है यहाँ पे. इट्स कॉल्ड द स्मॉल मैन कॉम्प्लेक्स. स्मॉल मैन कॉम्प्लेक्स इजंट एग्जैक्टली अ फिजिकल असर्शन कि वो स्मॉल मैन है या क्या है, बट इट्स अबाउट यार ये क्यों नहीं चल रहा सही तरीके से. सो इट्स ऑन बैटरी, the recorder, but it's also on thing. So now the
light on हो गई है बैटरी?
नहीं बैटरी है उसमें, but it works on this power bank here. If I just hold it, हाँ चले. तो वो जो है
अल्लाह पकड़े रखेंगे.
नहीं I'm kidding.
इसके ऊपर रख दे.
No, it's fine. Okay, now it's fine. Yeah, ये इस किस्म की trouble shooting जो है हम podcast पे कर रहे होते हैं.
Absolutely. Look, we do this to look cool.
Yeah, of course.
We do this like we know technicals. There's a battery power.
आपके ख्याल में यहाँ पे तारें क्यों हैं इतनी सारी?
Exactly.
क्योंकि तारें होती हैं.
जरूरी थोड़ी है. ये कुछ कनेक्ट थोड़ी हुआ है.
ये ऐसे ही है, ये बाइक थोड़ी है.
आवाज आपको नहीं आ रही है, आपके सबकॉन्शियस में चल रही है. We are
Are we here? We're not here.
We're not even here. There is no spoon.
Yeah. Right. Matrix analogy also. I think the small man complex is not about someone's physical stature. It's about how someone perceives themselves. And a small man, psychologically speaking, is always trying to prove to the other person that I'm not small. Right? And so they try to appear big. Two problems. One, they appear beyond their ability. And so they take on work that they will not be able to accomplish. Right? And the other thing also, jo actual chote log hain, he'll trample on them just to appear big. Right? But those people who are young right now, you have no guarantee ke aage jaake they could have become the next Atif Aslam. It could have been the next Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan saying some Abda Parveen. It could have been the next Abda. You know, Abda Parveen, when she came into it, you know, she absolutely wrecked everyone with her talent. But she was not traditionally beautiful. She was none of those things.
Yeah.
You know, I can't even. I hope I can sit down and talk to her one day, inshallah.
Man, I really hope you can do that too.
Yeah. So people ask me, it just occurred to me, people ask me all the time, they're like, what's a dream podcast? I don't believe in lists, right? I don't like dreams. But in that way, I'm like, oh, yeah, everyone's fantastic. Talking to you is a privilege, right? But Abda Parveen आ जाए अगर तो Abda मैं चला जाऊंगा उनके पास तो खैर लेकिन you know how do you know that the next person that you're trying to stifle is not the next? You don't know this.
Yeah.
You know, it happens over time.
Yeah, and you know the sad thing is there are people that can like take these challenges and overcome them and turn them into something, but also कुछ लोग हैं जिनको अगर आपने हर्ट कर दिया एक दफ़ा, आपने डिस्करेज कर दिया एक दफ़ा, वो उससे रिकवर नहीं कर सकेंगे. कुछ लोग होते हैं उनकी या तो अपब्रिंगिंग नहीं ऐसी होती कि उनको यू नो जो भी रीज़न है, दिल आपने किसी का दुखा दिया, आपने ख्वाब किसी के तोड़ दिए, उस I don't know how many people, artists we've already lost.
That's it, right? That's it. You know what you were saying just now, a little while ago, isi guftagu mein, you were like, there were things that happened that made me quit or made me consider quitting. Well, there's people who did quit, right? And they're gone and they're doing something and kudos to them. No, there's nobility in hard work. They're probably doing a job 9 to 5 या जो भी business जो भी काम कर रहे हैं. देखिए, again, risk तो promised है ना. But we lost someone, right? And we lost someone. Why? Because you were too busy, you know, reveling in your own insecurities. I don't mean to belittle you, man, but you can't be like this.
Yeah.
You can't be harsh like this.
And also, like, again, recognizing our insecurities is a huge opportunity to really see what your soul's purpose is. So it's not like I'm not insecure.
No, of course.
It's not like you're not insecure. It's not like
मैं मर्द हूँ.
Oh, of course. आपको तो privilege है.
मैं तो privilege नहीं बोलिएगा please. मैंने मेहनत की है. सिर्फ मेहनत है यहाँ पे. It's only hard work.
Okay.
It's difficult for men. It's only hard work. Please move on.
हम हमारे लिए तो बहुत आसान है ना. तो घर पे
औरतों के आसान होता है.
हमने घर पे बैठना होता है. हमें तो सब सहूलियात मुयस्सर हैं, you know. Thanks.
It's the paradox is palpable. You know what? So this is what it is. औरतें के साथ जो भी गलत होता है वो अपने साथ खुद करती हैं, जो भी अच्छा होता है वो हम देते हैं. मर्दों के साथ जो भी अच्छा होता है वो मेहनत होती है और जो भी बुरा होता है वो औरतें करती हैं.
No, I'm बहुत sad है, you know, boys का आजकल. मैं बहुत sad होती हूँ उनको देख के. उनका इतना difficult time चल रहा है.
बहुत मुश्किल वक्त चल रहा है.
उनको thinking करनी पड़ रही है, उनको feeling करनी पड़ रही है,
उनको accountability लेनी पड़ रही है.
हाँ, उन्होंने तो accounts पढ़ा ही नहीं. देखो, maths में fail.
सोचे मैं तो literature पढ़ा हुआ है, फिर मैं क्यों account
कैसे account पढ़ा? आप कैसे accounting करेंगे?
ये तो अजीब बात हो गई ना.
ये तो unfair है ना. ऐसे नहीं करना चाहिए boys के साथ.
मेरे साथ ये गलत हो रहा है.
नहीं boys को बहुत जो है, you know. अच्छा.
you know here's what's interesting, right? So I try and talk to it's not that my audience is predominantly men, but I try to talk to men and women. I try to talk to men in the sense that, especially young men, I'm like, dude, you're the fucking world, right? But you have to take responsibility, and there's so much that you could do that is good, and it's going, once you start taking responsibility, you will feel better. This is science, you know. This is proven.
It's called biology.
It's proven, right? It's proven that if you just take responsibility, if you are needed, and if someone says that they trust you and you are responsible for them, immediately you're like, okay, I'm going to start becoming a bigger person. Especially for men, even for women, but especially for men, that is a thing. And yet हम अपने मुआशरे में अपने बच्चों को, लड़कों को सिखाते ही हैं कि तुम्हारी जिम्मेदारी थोड़ी है. ओ, लड़की के साथ कुछ हुआ, औरत के साथ कुछ हुआ, बच्चे के साथ कुछ हुआ, किसी के साथ कुछ हुआ, ख्वाजा सरा के साथ कुछ हुआ, उसने कुछ किया होगा ना, तुम्हारी जिम्मेदारी थोड़ी है. और अगर हो भी रहा है तो वो जो मर्द है उसमें और तुम में जमीन आसमान का फर्क है.
हाँ, नहीं बाकी मेंस करते हैं ये सब. बाकी मेंस करते, प्रॉमिस. मैं वाला मेंस नहीं हूँ, वो वाला नहीं होता. मैं very sweet sentence. I love dogs.
You love Okay, that's too much. That's too close to real life. हम जो है यहाँ पे suspend नहीं कर सकते disbelief को. But yeah.
No, but thank you for being that voice, Kazi. It's really important. And I also really want to put this out there, whatever this banter was between us. There's no hate in my heart for men. There's no desire to put them down.
No.
There is just, I just wish they were more grateful for what they had and knew how to value what has been done for them.
But it's even bigger than that, right? So what are they asking for? They're asking for prominence. They're like, मेरे से तमीज से बात करो. मैं आपको क्या बोल रहा हूँ?
यार ये बहुत होता है.
लेकिन आप सुनो सही मैं बोल क्या रहा हूँ? मैं उनको क्या बोल रहा हूँ? I'm telling you, सारी जिम्मेदारी तुम्हारे ऊपर है. I'm telling you, if you don't get your shit together, all of us are fucked. इससे ज़्यादा क्या तमीज़ से बात करूँ आपसे? सारा मैंने सबसे बड़ा रुतबा मैंने किसका बनाया? इंसानी तौर पे सबसे बड़ा मैंने किसको जिम्मेदारी दी? आपको दी. खुदा की ज़ात ऊपर और नीचे सबसे ज़्यादा मेहनत आपको करनी है. You're like मुझसे तमीज़ से बात करो. तमीज़ से क्या बात करूँ? Coddle you like a child.
It's so weird. You're so right about this. It's like, and I've also seen this happen where like they want to be spoken to with respect as long as it's them. But if it's someone else,
no, but listen, it's not even, it's not even just that, Natasha. If I respect you, then I respect also your tolerance. Then I respect also the fact that you'll be able to take it.
Also,
take the criticism.
Also, yeah, take the criticism. Where is the openness for my voice to speak as honestly and as accurately as I am feeling? You know, women, I've been like deprogramming my people pleasing so that I can speak more honestly in the moment instead of like, no, but iski feelings hurt ho jayenge, so I have to approach it with this. And it's like, औरतों का भी दिमाग खराब हो गया है. हमें भी नहीं समझ आ रही कि हम बात कैसे करें. क्योंकि अगर हम प्यार से नहीं बात करेंगे, वैसे तो आपने सुनना नहीं, आपकी नहीं बात करी, लेकिन वैसे तो कान बंद है. चाहे मैं प्यार से बात करूं या गुस्से से करूं, उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता. कान बंद है, ठीक है. फर्क ये है, अगर मैं प्यार से बात करूंगी तो डांट नहीं पिटेगी. अगर मैं अपनी ऑनेस्टी में मेरा ये हो जाए, आपने मेरी चीज उठाई यहाँ से यहाँ रख दी और मैंने बस यूं कर दिया.
हर किसी को यहाँ पे हमारा मशगला, कौमी मशगला है ये कि हम हर किसी को उनकी औकात याद दिला रहे होते हैं. और फिर अगेन मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ कि मेरी तो दलील ही है ना कि आपकी बहुत बड़ी औकात है. तो बिहेव लाइक योर औकात ना यार. लाइक इफ यू वांट टू बी दिस बिग मैन, behave like a big man. Or stop, you know. And by the way, big men don't tell people to treat them like big men. That's not how that works.
Also, the word auqat really messes with me. Yeah, it's like, I think किसी को किसी की औकात याद दिलाने की जरूरत नहीं है. हम, do you get it? Like,
dude, I think
like मैं तो डिक्शनरी से निकाल रही हूँ औकात.
What do you think?
आपको नहीं, मतलब leveling.
Yeah, but what do you think the definition of औकात is?
I can only tell you what I perceive it, and I've heard it as, which is know your place.
Yeah, but that's not औकात at all, right? And that's the problem. There's something so guttural about when someone's like apni औकात yaad rakho. What are they telling you? They're telling you don't go beyond their station. Nothing great was accomplished by anyone जिनने अपनी औकात याद रखी. ठीक है? Nothing great, right? Oh, by the way, this is going to really upset some people. हमारे जो कायद थे, कायद आज़म, उनको जब बोला गया, कितनी बार बोला गया उनको अपनी औकात याद रखो, उनने क्या किया? Don't have औकात.
Don't have. Yeah. Just, but what does it mean?
I have no idea. I was just
I thought you were asking me because you're gonna like drop some big bomb.
No, dude.
Okay.
Nothing.
No, but yeah, I just think like इतना मुश्किल नहीं है, Kazi, to feel equal and be equal. Actually, you know, like if you really look at the big picture, we are all humanoids with biological function and a consciousness. And whether we like it or not, from the day we are born, hopefully to the day we die, we all have the same lessons to learn.
Yep.
Learn it at different times, through different situations, with different things. So,
go, please go.
What's the point of the distinction in the first place?
Oh, I'll tell you. वो तो आसान है. ये इस वाले सवाल का तो जवाब है मेरे पास.
Power.
हाँ. इसका नहीं
अच्छा
पावर नहीं.
अच्छा
इसका सवाल ये, देखिए मेरी बात सुने, इफ़ वी स्टार्ट एट द सेम पॉइंट एंड वी स्टार्ट सेम, नहीं चलो प्रिविलेज है, कुछ लोगों का ज़्यादा कुछ लोगों का कम है, यू माइट हैव अ डिफिकल्ट टाइम, बट ओके मोर और लेस यू एंड आई आर इक्वल. तो फिर क्या है? द ओनली थिंग दैट डिस्टिंग्विशेस अस देन इज मेहनत. मैं मेहनत क्यों करूं? If I could just manipulate everything in a way where I could just get stuff, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? So
Wow.
मैं मेहनत क्यों करूं? मेहनत is really difficult, dude. Did you know मेहनत is difficult? मेहनत is really difficult to do. But anyone who does hard work, they don't understand themselves to have another option.
Yeah, when you said mehnat is difficult, I'm like, it's
Bec-
just setting.
No.
It's just first base, like it's just what we do.
Yeah,
No?
but that's because आपका default ही है कि नहीं, अगर मुझे कुछ चाहिए तो उसके लिए काम करेंगे ना, और कैसे होगा? The people who put other people down, the reason why I would tell you, आप जो है ना मलेशिया में पढ़ी, privilege, आपका ये accent है, privilege, you were gifted बचपन से, privilege, आपकी वालदा जो थी artist थी, privilege, and I don't even want to take into account all the bad stuff you've gone through.
So I was just actually going to say and
Yeah.
add to that, where even after my parents passed away, this language and conversation was so prevalent about how I'm privileged.
Yeah.
That after the death of my parents, I started thinking I'm privileged that I no longer have any obligations that are tying me down. And it took me a year or two to unprogram that for myself, because I realized,
you're hurting, dude.
And it took away from, and I mean, one of the reasons I started believing this was, लोगों के साथ और बहुत बुरा होता है, और ये
No, given, dude, होता है, but that doesn't take away from your pain. It doesn't have to.
हाँ, but my pain was essentially bothering people. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
कि eventually, क्योंकि उनके like जिन लोगों के वालिदैन जिंदा थे मेरे इर्द गिर्द, उन पे बहुत इस वक्त प्रेशर था, क्योंकि वालिदैन जिंदा हैं, उनका ख्याल रखना है एंड एवरीथिंग. तो फिर मैं समझना शुरू हो गई, क्योंकि मेरे अब वालिदैन जिंदा नहीं हैं, मेरे लिए आसानियाँ हो गई हैं. और जब मैंने उसको पलटा और एक्चुअली मेरा नज़रिया थोड़ा क्लियर होना शुरू हुआ, विच इज़ के अलाइन विद पेन एंड ग्रीफ होना शुरू हुआ, मैंने रियलाइज़ किया what a hurtful way to think about myself. What a hurtful way to think about what I've been through. And what's causing me to do this to myself. And it's this patriarchal, I have so many issues you don't understand. And it took me to step away from, I mean, I have to say this, I had to step away from Pakistan to come back into my body and to come into understanding my own emotions and reconnecting with them. Because within Pakistan, we don't get the opportunity to really do that.
We don't get the opportunity. That is an excellent way of phrasing it. We just don't have the time. You're busy surviving.
You're busy surviving, and then I'm out. अगर मैं घर से निकलती हूँ तो मेरा वो जो है नहीं कि ये आपका यू कांट थिंकिंग इतनी नहीं होनी चाहिए. लाइक आपके सेंसेस ज़्यादा काम कर रहे हैं आपके लिए, आपके कानों पे आवाज़ पड़ रही है, आपकी आंखें चीज़ें देख रही हैं, आपने बस अपने सेंसेस पे रिलाई करना है और दिमाग तब इस्तेमाल करना है जब उसकी ज़रूरत हो. लेकिन एज अ वुमन मैं घर से निकलती हूँ, मेरा दिमाग ऑन होता है, मैं हर कोना देख रही होती हूँ, मैं आंखें नीचे रख रही होती हूँ, मेरा बिहेवियर चेंज हो जाता है. और ये छोटी छोटी माइक्रो बिहेवियरल चेंजेस हैं जो फिर ओवर आर्चिंग थीम आपकी इंसानियत की बदल देती है. ठीक है, तो वो मैं जितना बड़ा इंसान थी ना अंदर, एक एज अ बचपन का जो मैं बच्चा थी, वो मेरे में से निकाला गया है ओवर ईयर्स. डर डरा के आपके घर में आपकी जैसी भी ट्रीटमेंट हो रही हो, आपने घर से बाहर निकल के ज़िंदगी जीनी है. मैं जब घर से बाहर निकलती हूँ तो मुझे शॉर्टन किया गया है. मैं वैसे ही 5 फुट की हूँ, आपको 2 फुट देखना है सिर्फ. ठीक है, तो वो एंड मुझे फिर निकलना पड़ा, मुझे ये रेजिडेंसीज करनी पड़ी, और शॉर्ट टर्म सोल्यूशंस हैं. लेकिन एकदम से एक बंदे को रियलाइजेशन हो जाती है कि अगर मैं हर वक्त सोच ना रही हूँ तो मैं तो ठीक रहती हूँ यो. मुझे रोना नहीं आ रहा हर वक्त, मुझे पेन्स नहीं हो रहे. और उस फीलिंग को फोर्टिफाई करना, अपनी बाउंड्रीज को फोर्टिफाई करना, अपनी नर्वस सिस्टम को समझना, पाकिस्तान अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं देता कि मुझे पता भी चले नर्वस सिस्टम है क्या और कहाँ रिजाइड करता है मेरी बॉडी में और कैसे प्रेजेंट करता है, कैसे मैं उसको फिक्स करूँ, कैसे मैं उसको हेल्प करूँ, कैसे मैं उसको समझूँ. रिजेक्ट भी नहीं करना ना नर्वस सिस्टम को. आप अपने नर्वस सिस्टम को समझेंगे तो आप अपने लिए डिसीजंस बेहतर ले सकेंगे.
I think one of the most interesting things that you've said there is कि opportunity नहीं देता है. देखिए, I love Pakistan. I came back, right, from my life abroad. I think one of the things that people make fun of this, I talk about most is cognitive capital. I think Freud came up with the term. I don't even remember, but I think इतना लाजमी है ना कि हम इस term के बारे में बात करें. The cognitive tax of just living. And then people are like, why don't you leave? Why don't you, bitch? Why don't you leave? Huh? I want to stay here. This is my home. Na? And even if I leave, I'll leave inshallah when I want to, when I'm good and ready. आप क्यों बोल रहे हैं? मैं तो एक बात कर रहा हूँ, नहीं सुननी बंद कर दो. But the cognitive tax of being here, I think, is what you've just highlighted. And I think everything takes cognitive capital. Doing a podcast, listening to a podcast, producing a podcast, writing a note, writing a book, writing an essay, all of it takes
making an album.
Making an album, of course, right, takes cognitive capital. The argument that I would then make is that you might have been able to do this album in half the time if you had...
Actually, I mean, I'd been working with Rishabh for a year, but the album work just really picked up once I was in Nepal and had access to a studio that I could go to whenever I wanted. And the album that was taking months to finish finished in 3 months.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Less than half the time, actually.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's just cognitive capital, and people are like, "You तुम्हारा privilege नहीं." Pakistan needs to be that place. मैं तो opposite बोल रहा हूँ ना. मैं ये थोड़ी बोल रहा हूँ कि मैं बाहर जाके enjoy करूँगा. वो तो जहाँ भी लिखी हुई है मुझे नहीं पता. अल्लाह रहम करेगा, right? But मैं तो...
Yeah, I love that phrase.
What? Allah raham kare?
Yeah, I love it when you say it.
But I think people also mistake that. They're like, how did you come up with it? I was like, existential anchor hai. They're like, you've lost me. I'm like, okay. So existential, मुझे इतना, I'm always so scared, right? और मेरा अपना cognitive tax इतना high hai, living in Karachi and then all of those things, right? Is I constantly need to anchor myself कि नहीं Allah रहम करेगा, Allah रहम करेगा. And that is primarily what the problem is कि I wish we had to... Allah का नाम तो अब हमेशा लेते रहें, inshallah. But I wish we had to use a existential anchor less. Because even an existential anchor then,
It's work.
Away, it takes away from you.
Yeah, it's work. It takes away from literally just doing this.
Yeah, the breathing, yeah. Just existing. Oh, that's what you're doing. Nice.
Yeah, just sitting
Good existing
here.
face. Yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, solid.
Listen, I'm so privileged. I do meditations on boredom.
You also went to Nepal. Who goes to Nepal?
Who goes to Nepal?
Yeah, who does that?
Who does that?
Not people who aren't privileged. It's interesting. I've been having that conversation.
भाग के गई हूँ अपने आप को बचाने. नहीं.
ये भी हो रहा है यहाँ पे. ये भी हो रहा है. No, but it's interesting. I've been having this conversation around privilege. Na? Privilege bhi, it's interesting. Certain people get to be privileged, other people don't. So if you sound like us, you and me, हमारी उर्दू में भी ना थोड़ी सी curve है. हमारी उर्दू में थोड़ी सी curve है जिसको आप प्यार से burger बोलते हैं.
Burger.
तो हम जो है, we can't suffer anything. हम privileged
नहीं, हम allow नहीं है.
Yeah,
allow नहीं है.
Right? But there are people that are actually tremendously privileged, but because they don't sound like they're privileged, in the sense that they have a different kind of code or an accent in Urdu, immediately people flock to them. नहीं, इसने मेहनत की है. So अब मेहनत even is contained to how certain people look and how certain people sound.
मेरा जो गाना है ना album पे, it's called Give It Up to the News.
Yeah.
वो गाना actually, I'm trying to write a write-up for it because we're trying to submit it for a competition for social change.
Okay, inshallah.
As a song. And I was trying to write about it yesterday and I realized what it's really about. That I'm still trying to phrase it correctly. But what it's really about is how much influence news and powers to be have, and things like this, what you're talking about, like just an accent shift, even if it's a privileged person. The amount of influence and the And the way that influence is being used, it's like, it's so sad. कोई मुझे दे दे इतना इन्फ्लुएंस, कोई बस कह दे कि नताशा तुमने आज कौम से खिताब करना है और मैं इतनी मोहब्बत फैलाऊं
yeah dude
कि आपके पास कान सुन रहे हैं आपको यार, आपको दिमाग अब्जॉर्ब कर रहे हैं, और आपके अगर एजेंडा में सिर्फ और सिर्फ अमन और मोहब्बत और प्रेजेंस और सेफ स्पेसेस बिल्ड करना नहीं है, तो मतलब मैं can't sleep at night sometimes about this. Is why I write music. It really, and I can't, I wish I had the other accent. I wish I was born super low tabka. Tauba, actually, is tarah nahi mujhe kehna chahiye. Maybe delete this from the podcast. But there's a point I'm trying to make, which is that if that's the conversation I want to be a part of, it's insane that I would have been born a different person for me to be heard.
That's just what it is, na. That and powers that be wali jo baat aapne ki. I think there's people that are hijacking these narratives, right? They're turning people against people. And I think sahi hai. Dekho, I've been known to do this. I academize these things, where I'm like, यार इसका ना psychological कंपोनेंट ये है, इस वजह से लोग ये करते हैं ना, वो फंडामेंटल एट्रीब्यूशन कर देते हैं कि अच्छा नहीं ये these people, both of them talking, I don't even need to hear this. What you're doing, that's lazy actually, right? What you're doing is you're like, हाँ कोई नई information मुझे थोड़ी चाहिए, and that's because your cognition is so taxed just by existing कि आप बोलते हो नहीं, but my group is good, and this guy doesn't sound like me. वो जो मुआशरे होते हैं that end up achieving prosperity or whatever you want to call it, just betterment of society, उनमें ये होता है कि people are more able to engage with diverse opinions or what have you because basics उनके covered होते हैं. खाना पीना, रिहाइश जनरली कवर्ड होती है उनकी. वहाँ पे भी मसले होते हैं और मसले बहुत हैं, मैं ये नहीं बोल रहा हूँ. आई एम सेइंग पाकिस्तान इज ग्रेट, बट आई एम आल्सो सेइंग कैनेडा इज ग्रेट. इफ यू कैंट say both of those things, then that's the problem, na? If you can't be like Kazi and Natasha are both right, क्यों आपका क्या कम हो जाएगा अगर आप ऐसा बोल दोगे? Do you know what I mean? For whatever reason, if you can say, or for that matter, if you can say one of them is wrong, but she still or he still has a right to say whatever they want to say, ये जो cancel culture and all those है ना, जो actual cancel culture where you're like all of that stuff is just, it hurts, man. It hurts, and it doesn't, there's no
room for growth.
There is no room for growth. No, nothing. But you said, this is very interesting and hard segue thoda sa, but I beg your pardon, like you've been talking about writing. How important is it as a musician for you to be a good writer, or just a writer generally? Good to khair ab kya hai, but a writer. And how would you hope musicians, how did you develop it, and how would you hope that musicians develop their writing ability?
I don't think everybody is a writer, and I don't think it's necessary I don't think the word musician and writer needs to go hand in hand. Okay. I think it's an interesting overlap, and it gives you an interesting career. But in no way, if you're not a writer, does it exclude you from being like exploring musicianship.
That's interesting.
Right?
Super interesting.
I think because the way music is consumed, we're usually listening to vocals and lyrics, and therefore that feels like it's the primary sort of motivation behind a song. However, I think that musicianship is removed from songwriting and has its own space as an industry and profession. Again, there's so many roles that we don't consider. And I'm going to keep talking about, like, I'm going to keep bringing in international aspects because I think we deserve international aspects and standards here. if there was, I think it's a little different in Pakistan because our live music consumption or music consumption culture is limited to festivals and big brand shows. The culture in the rest of the world is that there are music venues that exist in public spaces. So when you look at it that way, you can be a guitarist that shows up at an open mic night or take a gig that happens every Saturday to make a buck, or you can get booked to be a guitarist for a band, and yada yada yada. The industry flourishes. There's a lot more people doing it. Obviously there's therefore a lot more competition for it too, but it exists very differently. Having said that though, I think it's important to be a writer, whether you're a musician or not, if you feel like you have something to say. And even like instrumentalists that are just instrumentalists, it's not like they're not writing music, they're just writing wordless music, right? But that's just the beauty of music. Like, you don't need to really know the context, but if it's done with genuine sincerity, it's gonna come and feel your heart's gonna be aliveness महसूस होगी आपको. Aliveness, बिल्कुल. मैंने खुद इसलिए लिखना शुरू किया था. मैंने अपना पहला गाना, I mean, मेरी बहन बता रही थी कि मैं बचपन में लिखती थी, लेकिन मुझे वो याद नहीं है कुछ. मैंने अपना पहला गाना इसलिए लिखा था क्योंकि हमारे स्कूल में एक टैलेंट शो हो रहा था. और मैंने गिटार नया नया बजाना शुरू किया था, तो मेरी सहेलियों ने कहा था तुम तो गाओगी. मैंने कहा ठीक है, लेकिन मैं खुद लिखूंगी गाना. यहाँ से शुरू हुई थी मेरी सॉन्ग राइटिंग जर्नी. पागल हूँ, दिमाग खराब है, बता रही थी आपको, शुरू में कहा था. इजी नहीं रखना, इजी तो जानना ही नहीं है.
नहीं, वही मैंने बोला कि कोई गाने जो गाए हुए हैं, कोई एक गा लेते आप, नहीं आपने खुद लिखना है.
खुद लिखा, और आई मीन 15 साल की थी, स्टेज पे जाके गा दिया अपना गाना.
But no, there's something there, dude. Maybe I'm just not able to pick it up abhi, because maybe my ability to pick it up is just not as refined as I would like it to be. But there's a certain kind of person who does this kind of thing, right? Everyone can't, and that leads me to believe that this is all everyone could, right? Everyone has the ability to, but they are not able to, and that leads me to believe that this is a skill that can be developed.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So then, but what am I calling a skill? Confidence, right? So if confidence is a skill, is there a formulaic understanding of it? Like, can everyone build confidence?
Confidence specifically, and not songwriting confidence.
No, just confidence to go up on stage. Just confidence to go anywhere and be like, मैं ये हूँ, टूटा फूटा ही सही, लेकिन this is my thing.
I think so. Again, अगर हमारी societies में ज़्यादा prevalent होनी शुरू हो जाए conversation about nervous system and how our body works, and what actually happens to us when we get stage anxiety, or when we are in a social situation where we get anxiety. There's obviously, like, we can't discount the fact that there's different ways that everybody's brain actually physically, biologically works.
Sure.
And there's neurodivergence in the world, right? And there's so many ways in which people are people.
Yeah.
Right? My teaching style from the start has never been overarching. It's always been, that's why I do private instruction. I want to get to know this person. I want to know what makes them them. I want to learn how to communicate with them specifically, not with just how I would communicate with a student. I need to get to know this person. So for me, it is very important that people get the attention, individual attention, that I feel like they deserve, so that when that part of our body that responds to feeling nervous or feeling lack of confidence, I often feel like if I've done my job at receiving a student in a nervous state in a way that has love and nurture and acceptance, they'll learn to approach their own anxiety differently next time.
That's called cognitive rewiring, I think.
I'm a very cognitive person, apparently. I'm doing a lot of cognitive things.
Everyone is a cognitive person. Everyone is cognitive.
But yeah, so it's one of those things कि अगर ये भी मैंने ऐसे सीखा है कि मैं तब तक एंजाइटी के साथ स्ट्रगल करती थी जब तक एक इंसान ने मुझे बस पकड़ नहीं लिया उसमें. वो एक दफ़ा किसी ने मुझे just embraced me. A friend of mine just embraced me when I was just out of it. And it changed how I felt about it the next time I got the same anxiety. And it gave me a model to work with to maybe let myself hold myself in the same way. So yes, I feel like there's definitely a way to build a skill. And I think it's, if you're lucky, you get the right kind of mentoring for it. But it is cognitive rewiring to a certain degree. And I think it's that thing of like, if you believe enough in what you have to say, then you will work towards getting over these hurdles. Because what's bigger? Is your anxiety bigger, or is what you have to do to change the world bigger?
Oh, you have to make that decision, no? You have to decide that. That's the decision you have to make.
Right? So, and
you can let it win. You can. It's really
and
big.
it's different in different moments.
And it's difficult.
Yeah. But I've also let the anxiety win yesterday, and today I won't let it win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it'll change moment to moment.
Yeah.
I think as long as we can somehow work towards a world where as children we are given the importance of our individuality to the point where we are given spaces to where we can be embraced for what we call imperfections, but are just the way your body works, and an understanding of that, then I think that there's going to be a lot more, at least, well-adjusted people in the world.
Yes, yes, dude. I think so. I studied psychotherapy for a bit also, no? So usme one of the things that you hope to imbibe into your clients is emotional regulation, because your emotional state's going to be erratic. आप दुनिया को देखो तो सही, पाकिस्तान को छोड़ दो, दुनिया को देख लो, यही है ना? And especially in today's day and age where you're constantly being inundated with so much information from the social medias, from this and that and the other. I think as long as you can find a way to regulate your emotions, right? And emotional regulation will come when you're anchored in something that's inviolable. And inviolable principles often होते ही इस तरीके से हैं, जो categorical imperatives होते हैं ना, for every situation. I'm going to treat people with kindness because that's what God wants. If you're not religious, that's also fine. See, there's room, right? If you're not religious, I'm going to treat people with kindness because that's how I would like to be treated. It's the same thing. It's the same thing, right? It's you're doing this for an end. It's all right. None of that is bad. None of that is wrong. But you have, what regulates your emotions? You have to regulate your emotions.
And I think in my experience, one of the reasons we struggle so much as a society with emotional regulation is because we've been taught over time to not accept the parts of us that are dark. You know? And when a child is angry,
गुस्सा तो बुरी बात होती है.
You know?
And he ends up being angry for the rest of his life.
Exactly. Instead, if we can teach children to learn what our anger is trying to tell us, because anger is beautiful. अगर मुझे गुस्सा ना चढ़ा होता, मैंने अपने decisions ना लिए होते अपनी जिंदगी के लिए जिन्होंने मुझे इधर तक पहुंचाया है.
That's fantastic, yeah.
तो गुस्सा तो अच्छा है, लेकिन हम मार देते हैं बचपन में ही ना, हर इमोशन को मार देते हैं. ज़्यादा खुश मत हो, ज़्यादा एंग्री मत हो, ज़्यादा बोलो मत, ज़्यादा
और ज़्यादा सुनो मत,
ज़्यादती बस छोड़ दो हर चीज़ की, और वो ज़्यादती नहीं होती बचपन में. तो हम इतने प्योर होते हैं कि वो बस वो होता है. और उस बचपन में उन इमोशंस को एक साइड पे रख देना कि नहीं, ये ज़रूरी नहीं है. जैसे मेरे अब्बा करते थे, मैं आपको कह रही थी, मैं खुश नहीं हूँ स्कूल में, अब्बा कुछ नहीं होता, तुम पढ़ने जा रही हो. अब ये एक बहुत बड़ा लो था मेरे लिए. आई मीन, एक 7th grade का बच्चा खुद डिसाइडेडली घर पे नहीं बैठता 6 महीने.
You tell that story. You didn't tell it on the
अच्छा.
You didn't tell it on the podcast. That was before, yeah.
अच्छा, हाँ. Where does it start? I was in 7th grade and I was being bullied a lot every day. And I was not only being bullied, I was being like, boys were like catfishing me and like then taking fake evidence to the principal and just doing all kinds of stuff, right? It was a really bad time as a young person. I was definitively unhappy and crying every day. Every day I would come home and I would cry and I would cry and I would cry. And we wouldn't live with our father. But I would see him maybe over the weekend every now and then, right? So it was a bad time. And at some point, and I also had enough understanding of my surroundings at the time that I knew that this wasn't because of me necessarily. I was in a very conservative school and I came from a very liberal thinking household, which as a Pakistani, like you might as well not exist. So, and again, my mother was the sort of person who never wanted me to learn how to back down. So I was fairly vocal and I was fairly myself at school, but everybody around me was hyper religious. And I mean, hyper religious, I mean, they're catfishing me, so you can't be very,
That's
you know
what I
yeah.
was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, but just at least presenting that way, right? And actually, I think I'm religious, so it wasn't a problem of I'm religious and I'm not religious and they're religious. It was more of a I speak my mind and they don't like it, or I'm dark skinned and whatever. So I was bullied insanely, and I took it for 2-3 years, and then I said I don't want to go to the school anymore, and my father refused because he didn't see the value of that needing to be addressed.
Happiness?
Yeah. And I don't know, I was in 7th grade and it just had gotten to a point where I was like, I'm actually not going to go to school. And my dad was like, तुम पढ़ने जाती हो स्कूल तो तुम दोस्तियां क्यों बनाने जाती हो, तुम इग्नोर करो सबको और तुम पढ़ो बस. तो आई थिंक मेरी सबकॉन्शियस ब्रेन को पता था कि मेरे अब्बा को कन्विंस करने का बस एक तरीका है कि तुम पढ़ना छोड़ दो ऑल टुगेदर, स्कूल ही ना जाओ. ठीक है, अब वो तो लाइक दैट वाज डेफिनेटली गोना मोटिवेट माय फादर इनटू लाइक, एंड ही उन्होंने सोचा होगा 1 हफ्ता नहीं जाएगी, 2 हफ्ते नहीं जाएगी. मैं 6 महीने घर पे बैठी रही और मैं बड़ा उस तरह का बच्चा थी कि मैं कभी बोर नहीं होती थी. तो मैं 6 महीने घर पे भी थी, तो मैंने बीडिंग उठाई हुई थी, मैंने ड्राइंग उठाई हुई थी, मैं कुछ ना कुछ पेंटिंग कुछ ना कुछ करती रहती थी. तो वो उनको लग भी, वो Natasha is also unbothered that she's not going to school. Actually, she's having and she's productive. So in 6 months he gave in. He's like, okay, go apply to another school. And then I got into Beacon House and my life changed because Beacon House is massive. It's diverse. At the time, I just wanted to hide because everybody just been bullying me. You know, I felt like all these eyes were at me all the time. And suddenly I'm in this big school. No one is looking at me. And it feels so much more relaxing and easy. So even as a kid, like I had to kind of work towards my own emotional regulation where my parents were like, my father didn't want to do anything about it and my mother couldn't because of the way life is set up in Pakistan.
Yeah, dude.
Dude.
Yeah, man.
Hey.
I honestly, sincerely think that some people should not be allowed anywhere near students or kids. I think some people absolutely have no business trying to teach a child anything. Anything. Listen, stay away. If I have a child, I'm going to prison, man. Allah Rahm kare. Like some of the stuff that's been done to me, like and वो वाली बात है कि उस वक्त ऐसा नहीं होता था कि I just wouldn't tell my parents. I wouldn't tell my parents because I was convinced, वो मुझे convince किया गया था कि अगर आप बताएंगे तो फिर आप देखें. Now this is a kid in the 5th grade or the 4th grade, जो भी उम्र होती है, and this is a hulking, towering man, और वो बाकायदा ये धमकी दे रहा है. What business did he have being around children? Please explain to me with definitions and diagrams if you so should choose. It's absolutely ridiculous. And yeah, मुझे ये feel होता है कि if I had a kid and something like this were happening, bad situation.
बचपन की बात है यार, जब दिल ही बंद कर देते हैं हम बच्चों का, तो उसको क्या पता उसके क्या ख्वाब है.
This is by the way going to be a hard comeback.
Come back.
You were
Oh,
like
can we take a break? Let me come back. Let me
Yeah,
come
no,
back.
you're already back. This is it.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, but you come back with हम बच्चों का दिल ही बंद कर देते. Good. This is how you make sure this is not a promotional podcast, because you wouldn't talk about these dark things. Maybe you would.
Maybe we would.
Maybe you would.
I mean, see, the thing with this album, Kazi, is that I have put on record, I have been given the opportunity to put on record a lot of things that have obviously been brewing for my entire life. There are songs in there about, so When I Took the Time is the closing song of the album. And it is about this experience of trying to imbibe something, because that's what people think that I need to be doing. But actually, when I take the time to be by myself, I realize that I have to shed all those layers off, right? And I'm a human person. There are other human people in the world. They've all had the same, वही बचपन से हम बड़े होके फिर ये बन जाते हैं. तो हमारे बचपन में जो होता है वो heavily affect करता है हमें आज. तो there's a song called Did You? And that was a redo from mine and Rishab's old work together. But when we redid it, I decided I wanted to add a part, which is at the end. And the lyrics are, and we'll go dancing in the jungle, playing games with our faces, sharing only fairy tales and all our graces. And may the ground know how to hold us in tender ways, so we know we'll find again a love we've never found before.
And scene. That's beautiful. That's
Thank
beautiful. And I don't know if I could find a better way to end this podcast on, or a better note to end the podcast on. But I will say a few things. Ek cheez, obviously, I don't know how familiar you are with the psychological concept of holding. I think bachpan mein, I think bade hone mein, I think generally we all need holding. And you know, एक colloquialism होती है कि कोई और मेरा पेरेंट नहीं था तो मैं अपना पेरेंट खुद बन गई या बन गया. That also is holding. You need something to keep you from shattering. Everyone does at some point, because life is difficult, right? So the concept of holding there, and also, like I said, I've said this before to you, I think I understand you to be a hopeful person. Are you a hopeful person? Yeah. Still, after all this?
Yeah. Especially after all this, man. There's no other point to life, in my opinion. There's nothing that brings me out of... I'm not saying I haven't had bad phases. I'm not saying I haven't fallen. And I remember very clearly so I struggled with food a lot in life. And especially after my mom passed away. There was a huge, long, like, depressive spell. और मैं बस बिस्तरे में रहती थी. खाना नहीं खा रही थी, कुछ भी नहीं कर रही थी. वो जो एपेटाइट को होता है जब आपकी ग्रीफ डिप्रेशन वगैरह हो रही होती है. मुझे याद है और अम्मा और अब्बा की बड़ी लंबी डिजीज़ेस थी, और उसकी वजह से आधी डॉक्टर भी बन गए थे हम सारे चारों बच्चे. तो होता ये कि आप मेडिकल इस सिचुएशन में आते हैं ना जहाँ पे पीपल आर डाइंग, तो डॉक्टर्स भी कहते हैं द लास्ट थिंग दैट अ डॉक्टर सेज टू यू बिफोर व्हिच यू नो यू हैव टू जस्ट बी लाइक एक्सेप्ट रियलिटी इज देव स्टॉप्ड ईटिंग. एंड आई हैड स्टॉप्ड ईटिंग, एंड आई had this moment where I went back to my parents' deaths, or the death of any animal I've experienced, where that statement has been said. And then I looked at myself. I said, I've stopped eating. And that's the final stage of not wanting to or being able to exist anymore.
That's it.
And I was in bed, and my sister lives in Denmark. She has 2 beautiful daughters.
Alhamdulillah.
And they are my pride and joy. I love them very much. And literally there was just this image I had कि अगर वो दोनों इधर होती और वो इस वक्त कमरे में आती तो मैं क्या दिखा रही हूँ उन्हें. ये नहीं है कि मैं चाहती हूँ कि वो सीखें कि फॉल्स भी आएंगे, और मैं चाहती हूँ मैं अगर उदास हूँ तो वो देखें कि मैं उदास हूँ. लेकिन अगर वो बच्चियाँ मेरे कमरे में आएँ और उनको खाला ऐसी मिले, this thought broke me. It broke me to the point where then I had to get up. And the first thing I did was I got out of bed, I went to the fridge, I had an apple. And it was, anyone that's really close to me has seen me struggle with food my whole life. So like anyone that knows me knows that apple is a big deal for me to go willingly and grab onto and be like, this is like, I can't, I have a responsibility to those girls. And in those girls, I see myself. I'm also a child inside. So I have a responsibility to baby me. Hope is literally the only thing that's brought me out of the darkness. So how would I let go of that? And, I definitely have questioned the need to exist.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But then life happens, and life is super powerful.
Life is super powerful.
And connections happen, and love happens. And that's the reason to be here. There's no other, it can't be done any other way.
No.
And that's why I was saying what I was saying earlier, that the people that are not recognizing their own toxicities are not letting themselves get to this point where it's enough to just be.
Mm-hmm. It's everything to just be. It's everything, yeah.
So, I wouldn't want the hope to die. I wouldn't want the hope to die at all. And when I finished this album, I already started thinking of album number 2.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah.
And I was like, this is amazing.
Why not, dude? Why not? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So then follow-up question. Ek to super powerful what you said. You thought about quitting until you realized who was watching. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier about the power of responsibility. Bro, it is liberating when you're like, listen, I don't care because this person is watching, or this person se bhi zyada, then you, when you transcend that, you're like, God is watching. He gave me all this. No.
Fazul mein to hai nahi na.
Nahi hai. So, okay. So then final question.
Okay.
What is your hope with this album?
My hope with this album is, I hope everybody finds something that they can connect with in a moment that they need to connect with something. I hope as many people as I can bring it to can hear it, because I have put this album on record in order to say not just what I want to say, but also what I feel like the world needs to hear right now. All the themes, you said they're very diverse themes. There's a reason there's a lot of diverse themes. Is because, कल की किसने देखी है? मैं सेकंड एल्बम का सोच रही हूँ, लेकिन वो कब बनेगी मुझे नहीं पता. मेरे पास ये वक्त था, मैं आज ऐसी हूँ और आज मुझे ये नज़र आ रहा है. तो कह दो, सब कह दो, क्योंकि किसी का फ़ायदा होना है. मुझे पता है, मुझे ऑलरेडी पता है, मुझे रिस्पॉन्सेज आ चुके हैं. मैंने अपनी आंखों से देखा है. मैं एक लिसनिंग सेशन कर रही थी अपने एक दोस्त के साथ. प्रोड्यूसर है, बहुत सेंसिटिव बंदा है. उसकी आंखों में टीयर्स कोई फोर्स नहीं कर सकता. आप यू कांट. लेकिन वो वही वाला गाना था. There's some people that have cried on that verse that I just narrated to you, because I hope that the children inside that have been muffled and taken their speeches away from and their emotions away from can reconnect with those emotions and love themselves. And I hope that, I hope that whatever Rishabh and I are gunning to do for this album, we can do at least 15% of it, and I'll be happy. Someone said to me, when Khud Se Baatein was happening, because we released that earlier with the music video, and one of the production houses I was working with didn't think it sounded complete. They were like, ये हमें 80% complete लग रहा है.
That's interesting.
और मैं कह रही थी, मैं 80% के साथ इतनी खुश हूँ, क्योंकि मैं खुद भी perfectionist होती थी, बहुत बड़े डिग्री की. तो मैंने खुद से प्रेशर हटाया है कि परफेक्शनिस्ट नहीं होना. तो अब मैं और लोगों की परफेक्शनिज्म भी नहीं लेती. 80% है ना, बहुत है. यो B is good for me. लेकिन
80 A होता है.
अच्छा, चेंज हो गई चीज़ें. लेकिन मतलब अनडिनाइबल है ना काजी. अगर लोग मुझे आके कह रहे हैं कि वो रिप्रेजेंटेड फील कर रहे हैं इस एल्बम की वजह से, अगर लोग मुझे आके कह रहे हैं कि वो कुछ लोगों ने एक सिटिंग में 4 दफ़ा बैक टू बैक सुनी है एल्बम.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. तीन दफा हाँ. Yeah.
सही है.
Yeah.
So मतलब मैं किसी को पैसे नहीं दे रही सुनने को.
नहीं.
मैं सिर्फ एक्सपीरियंस दे रही हूँ.
Mhm.
ठीक है. तो अगर सुनी जा रही है तो कोई तो है. और आपने अर्लियर कहा था कि आई एम नॉट ट्राइंग टू हिट द मैसेज, आई एम ट्राइंग टू डू ऑल द थिंग्स दैट don't necessarily the parameters you follow.
The parameters
I haven't
you're following,
followed them.
No.
But I genuinely think it's for the masses for that reason. I think people underestimate our audiences to a huge degree.
That's a powerful message. Sure.
ठीक है.
Yeah.
तो मेरा इस एल्बम के साथ मैंने 89 को भेजा है, तो मैंने 89.4 को भी भेजा है. मैंने सुनो FM 100 को भी भेजा है. मैं और ये मेरी होप सिर्फ अपने लिए नहीं है, ये मेरी होप उन सब आर्टिस्ट्स के लिए जिनको मैं भी रिप्रेजेंट कर रही हूँ, या वो उन आर्टिस्ट के लिए जो सुन रहे हैं, जो एक गाना ख़त्म करते हैं बस इंटरनेट पे लगा देते हैं, वहाँ पे छोड़ देते हैं. आप रिसर्च करें, आप नंबर्स ढूंढें, आप ईमेल एड्रेसेस ढूंढें. आप हर रेडियो स्टेशन, पाकिस्तान में रेडियो इतना सुना जाता है. ट्रक ड्राइवर सुनते हैं, बैंक मैनेजर सुनते हैं, हर एक सुनता है. ठीक है. उस ट्रक ड्राइवर को जिसने 14, 15, 16 घंटे की ड्राइव करनी है, इस एल्बम में उसके लिए भी गाना है.
Yeah, sure.
ठीक है. इस एल्बम में उसके लिए भी गाना है जिसने जाके बस पार्टी करनी है.
Okay. Yeah.
ठीक है. लेकिन अगर आप उस गाने के लिरिक्स सुने जो बज़ाहिर लगता है कि वो बस एक पार्टी गाना है, वो बड़ा उसके डेप्थ के साथ लिखा गया है, वो भी फ्लिपेंट नहीं है. तो शायद मैं ये चाह रही हूँ कि मैं एक क्या कहते हैं, इन्फिल्ट्रेशन करना चाह रही हूँ लोगों की,
इंसेप्शन करना चाह रही हूँ
लोगों की कॉन्शियसनेस में. मैंने इस एल्बम में बहुत सारा जो म्यूज़िक एलिमेंट है वो फ्रीक्वेंसी बेस्ड है, क्योंकि मैंने साउंड हीलिंग और साउंड फ्रीक्वेंसीज का थोड़ा सा स्टडी किया हुआ है. तो आई नो what frequency and what key to use to incite
peace.
Yeah.
Harmony.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening in the layers of this music, which is why I feel like people are connecting with it also without really, I mean, the lyrical content on its own, the music on its own, the production on its own. There's been a lot of thought and love and energy put into making this a pleasant experience. I wanted to put out a pleasant experience, even though it has its dark moments.
Sure.
Right? But I just wanted to put out a pleasant experience, and my hope is that people have that pleasant experience and they sleep to it and they wake up to it and live their life and just be, man. I just want everyone to be.
You just want everyone to be.
I just want everyone to be.
Natasha, this has been wonderful.
Thank
you for
Kazi,
doing this.
This has been great. No, thank you for having me. It's been really important for me to find spaces where there's a genuine exchange of ideas. And this has been absolutely one of them.
अल्लाह रहम करेगा. Please, ये तारीफ़ें वारीफ़ें नहीं समझ आती. आप please tell everyone where they can get the album, and then tell them where they can find you, where they can get in touch with you for business and or just follow you and stuff and all of those things.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Khawateen Hazrat, Khawatoons and Hazroots, and everything in between. I don't want to be exclusionary.
Sure.
You can find the album online on all your favorite digital streaming platforms. So that's YouTube Music, Spotify, very soon Apple, Amazon, everywhere that you are listening to music, you will find this album. But also, if
name.
The name of the album is Ordinary Miracle if you're English speaking, and Heeray Moti if you're purely Urdu speaking, or both if you are both.
Yeah.
And it's out there. We are working with limited budgets right now, so I'm not able to make a music video immediately, which is why I need you to go to listen to the music and then share it with everyone, please, and make TikToks and make Instagrams, Reels. It's on TikTok and it's on Instagram. Use the songs, please. We need the push. Thanks.
Okay.
Why am I talking straight into the mic?
I have no idea.
Looking into the mic.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just everything. Full focus. And where do they get in touch with you?
They get in touch with me either on Instagram, or the email address is tdlpress@gmail.com. That's tdlpress@gmail.com.
Instagram?
NATASHAONINSTA, Natasha on Insta. I'm a really fun person and you should follow me.
She's a really fun person. You should follow her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.